Today's video is brought to you by Assiniboia Downs Gaming and Event Center. And be sure to tune in to Trust the Profits Live Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern for Monday Night Lights, hosted by Matthew DeSantis.
Salutations and welcome, friends, to Monday Night Lights here on Trust the Profits, as we are going to live stream all night for Assiniboia Downs. This is a very exciting partnership we have with Assiniboia Downs, where every single week you're going to be able to come to Trust the Profits on a Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and you're going to be able to get all the analysis, live betting, live handicapping, stable duel advice. We're going to be with you from race 1 to race 7 the whole night, 11:35, 11:45. If game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals goes into triple overtime, we're still going to be here. And joining me today is a man who is double screening right now up in Boston, watching the Celtics, watching Assiniboia Downs. Colin Sheehan. Colin, how are you doing? And are you excited for Assiniboia tonight?
Absolutely, Matt. I'm so excited for this partnership. This is really awesome for us. And I don't say that. I say it because it's, I started watching Assiniboia last year, and you'll talk about all these things that we're looking for from a player's perspective that we want. Go on the Assiniboia Downs website and go to their player portal. They have charting horse value free charts for you. They have the HRN power picks for you. They have free Brisnet past performances. They have access to the videos of all the replays, the results, the jockey trainer standings, and they make it so easy for you. So, and don't forget this one. We had these past performances on like Wednesday or Thursday compared to 2 tracks I was trying to handicap for today and do a show on that I canceled the show because you couldn't get your effing past performances out until like Saturday. So that'll be the most swearing we do on this show. But these are things we talk about, and they're doing it right. So for us, it's easy to kind of pump them up because, starting last year and the year before during COVID, when you started kind of looking for what's out there to watch to entertain ourselves, Assiniboia Downs definitely did that. And so I've become a fan. And you have made me a fan as me trying to catch you in the stable duel standings because you are a master up at ASD. So I'm coming for you this year, and I'm coming for you tonight. And we have so much that we're going to be talking about and looking at, starting with stable duel, because you now have 27 minutes to get those stables in for you for the stable duel game, $15. I have 2 entries.
Ooh, all right.
For me, I usually just go with the one, and because I know what's going to happen is I'm going to have like half winners on this one, half winners on this one, and finish 30 and 35th.
Yeah.
How many do you have in tonight?
I got 3. That's the maximum you can put in. And so I put in 3 for tonight. But listen, it is, absolutely. Everything you said at the beginning, just to echo, absolutely right, that listen, they're doing things the right way. They're also reducing takeout. We have a $50,000 guaranteed pick 4 pool that we're going to be talking a lot more about throughout the evening, giving out some picks in that pick 4 and maybe a joint ticket that Colin and I are going to work on. So we're really excited about that. Like Colin said, all of the free information that's on the player portal, we cannot emphasize that enough. Past performances, Jeff's stuff from Charting Horse Value. He's going to be joining us in future weeks on the show. We're going to have, HRN's total impact information and all of their content that's up there. We'll have Ed DeRosa and others from HRN pop on from time to time throughout the meet as well. And so it's going to be great. And so they're doing things the right way for the handicappers, for the bettors, and for the fans. And that's what we're really excited about. And we do have, because post time's not until 8:35, we actually have about 30 minutes until we get that Assiniboia Downs stable duel contest out there. And just so if you don't know, it's a $15 contest tonight. There is a $750 pot. Now, here's the thing. That means that usually 50 players would have to enter to kind of make up that $750 pot. The beauty about stable duel is the $750 is guaranteed, no matter how many people enter the contest. Okay, so if it's just me and Colin, it's still going to be 750 people. Now, it's a lot more than that. Okay, $750, I should say. But if it goes above and beyond 50 people, and it starts getting to 60, 70 people in the contest, guess what? the pot starts to expand. And so Stable Duel is always really good about that. That's something I love about them. Top 12 people get paid out. I believe top prize is $125 this week. So definitely excited about that. I think there's a lot of really great value on the card tonight. And I see the chat is already popping off, and it's great to see some of our tried and true people back right at the wire, back again. Great to see you there, Henry. I know in the chat as well. Always excited to see Henry in there. I know he's always going to be dropping some pedigree tips in there as well. Trish Smith in the chat. Also, Trish, great to see Echo Zulu back today. Something my dad texted me out of the blue. He'd been texting me about other nonsense, and then all of a sudden he goes, Echo Zulu, post time in 10 minutes. And I'm just like, all right, well, I'm getting there. And so he's very excited about Echo Zulu today. And so it's great to see her back and running in great form already this year. So this is great. And listen, we got somebody hooked on Stable Duel already, right at the wire, and it's a fun game. It's a great game to play. Love it. And I know Hardspun77 is right at the wire's Stable Duel account. I'm following him already, and so excited for that. And we got Marla in the chat as well. Marla, good to see you in there, and good luck to you tonight. The chat's going to be popping off. We're always going to be checking in. Love to hear where everybody is checking in from. Love to do a roll call on this Memorial Day weekend, see where everybody is checking in from. Love to see. I know last week we had people from Ireland staying up until 6 o'clock in the morning and, enjoying the contest with us. We have people from all over the country. So, and from some folks from up in Canada as well joining in. So let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. But Colin, listen, when we talk about Stable Duel and we talk about Assiniboia, one of the things that part of the reason I love playing this track is I always think you can find great value at Assiniboia, and you can find these horses that are 10 to 1, 15 to 1, maybe even 20 to 1 on the morning line that I think are going to run a lot better and more importantly, get bet down a lot of times and end up becoming really good value from a Stable Duel perspective. So interested in maybe one or two horses that you were, had an eye on in this particular contest that you're going to be using tonight that you think is present really good value on Stable Duel.
Yeah, I saw your tweet a little while ago, so I'll leave Touch of Love to you because Touch of Love in the third race was a horse that I was very interested in. He'll be one that I have in my stables. That's number 6. We'll let Matt talk about that one because I tweeted out, if you go to race 4, the number 3 horse by the name of Rye Bread at 20 to 1. And I talked about this when me and El Hombre did our pick 4, because this will be the race that kicks off your $50,000 late pick 4. And what I thought was interesting here was you have some 4-year-olds going against the 3-year-olds. And in a race where you have a lot of horses that haven't raced in a while, to be honest, right? You have the horses that have run here, all haven't run since September, all of them, except for the number 1, who's actually a first-time starter, and the works were as good as any, and that's 4 to 1. But when I started handicapping this race, I said, okay, a lot of horses haven't raced in a while. I don't know this track as well as I'd like to yet. Okay, so we'll put that out there at least for now. I'm going to play a little bit of the maturity angle of having a 4-year-old versus a 3-year-old going first time out off of a layoff in only a 7-horse field as well. So that's something that also played into my Stable Duel choice, is that, of course, when you got to play like a 20 to 1, right? You always end up with that last horse kind of has to be a 20 to 1 horse.
Yeah.
If this was a 10, 11, 12 horse field, I don't know that I'd be as interested in the 3. But do I think he can beat at least 3 of these and get me some positive points at 20 to 1? I'm hoping. The speed figures, at least from a Brisnet standpoint, put him in company. You got a pretty consistent number 7, big energy. You have the 5, whose last out was a 60. Rye Bread has been putting up pretty consistent 50s last 3 times. Also, early speed. This is an E6 Brisnet pace figure for this horse. And the horses that have won so far at Assiniboia Downs that haven't raced in 2023 have been the E and the ES types on your Brisnet past performances. So has shown some early speed. Actually, it's probably your inside early speed, depending upon what the 1's going to do. But the 2 hasn't shown much early speed, and neither has the 4. So if the 3 can break well and get out, It's a 5 furlong race. It's quick, and I'm hoping that the rye bred can kind of get me something here. One more point on this horse. I thought it was interesting that he started off in maiden special weights. I'm sorry, maiden claimers, went to a maiden special weight, then went and ran some allowance races.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some hope for this horse there. The trainer jockey combos, nothing that I'm at least familiar with as being strong to this point, but that was the horse that I kind of had my eye on, that I have in my stables at 20-1 for your $500 horse that you need to put in when you take some of these other higher priced horses, because you do have some smaller fields that make the horses that you need be 5,000, 6,000 and above.
Yep. Absolutely. No, I think you can always find those values, I think, in those main races in particular. And Trish, really big fan of actually the number 3 horse, No Midnight, in the first race. The dam has 3 winners out of 4 starters. So definitely, some success there. And I think, that's another thing when looking at Assiniboia. You also have to kind of recalibrate your expectations a little bit. When you look at the PPs, when you look at the pedigrees, in some instances, you're not going to be seeing those 59 and change bullet 5 furlong workouts that you see from Brad Cox horses down at Keeneland and things like that. You're going to see minute and 2, minute and 3, minute and 4, 5 furlong work. And that's okay. It's all relative to each other. So it's important to recalibrate and look at how do these horses compare to each other, rather than how do they compare to some fictional horse that I have in my head when I'm handicapping graded stakes action on a weekend at Belmont or Santa Anita or something along those lines. Same thing with pedigree. Trish brings up a great point in terms of, listen, this is having 3 starters out of 4 offspring is really good. Even if they're not first-time starters, it's still a nice value there for that number 3, who's taken a little bit of money from 15-1 down to 9-1 on the post-time odds currently in race number 1. Yeah, I have 2 horses that I really like. So in the first race, it's not a huge piece of value, but I do really like the number 6, Cussin' Cat, who is 5-1 on the morning line, going to cost you $6,000 in stable duel. And we talk about pedigree. I'm a big fan of this one. Full sister to the horse Swear Vengeance. So the dam, I Swear, and the sire, Vengeful Cat. And so I love Cussin' Cat as kind of a name there. But full sister to Swear Vengeance. Swear Vengeance was a first out winner at Assiniboia, went and ran in a stakes race immediately after that, finished second, and then promptly won the next 2 races in her career. So won 3 of her first 4, 6-time winner overall at Assiniboia. And it's pretty good. And then you look at the trainer, Elton Dickey, and he's 27% with first out starters over the last 5 years and 60% in the money. So 5-1, only $6,000. I thought there was a nice pedigree play there and maybe trainer angle as well. But then you brought up the number 6 horse in the third race, which is a $5,000 claimer. And that's one I definitely like a lot as well. And so when looking at, let me just make sure I get the Touch of Love. That's a horse that, I feel like that's a horse that is 10-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $1,000. There's a couple reasons to like this horse. One, the connections. Jared Brown and Jorge Carreno. It's like the Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz Jr. of Assiniboia Downs. I mean, those two win all the time together. They're winning at a 34% clip over the last year at Assiniboia Downs with a 229 ROI, despite always having heavy favorites. Now you're getting one of their horses with pretty big odds. The fact Carreno chooses to ride this horse, I think, says something. And this is a horse that it's a surface play more than anything else. Once they got this horse on dirt sprinting, and also at a little bit of a lower level, this horse suddenly responded. They had this horse going long in the turf for a while at Gulfstream Park. They get this horse up to Assiniboia, and first time out, not great, but then wins a maiden claimer at 5,000, but then immediately backs it up with 2 consecutive wins in non-winners of 2, non-winners of 3, and with ascending speed figures each time, then comes out and runs, I thought, a pretty nice third against open company claimers. And so I thought that was a nice kind of way to finish that Assiniboia meet. Goes from the Jennifer Jordan barn to the Jared Brown barn, and clearly getting this horse ready for to kick things off this year. So I think this is one that I'm interested in using. Certainly at 10-1, only going to cost you $1,000. So those were a couple of plays that we liked there in the Assiniboia contest at Stable Duel. And again, you still have about 20 minutes to get your entries in. And again, that's a $15 contest. And, the beauty of that is We got $15 contest. And if I'm not mistaken, we got, let's see, we have 53 people. So we're already over the projected number. And the winner is going to get $150. Second place, $125. Top 12 all pay out. So 8 through 12 at the minimum double up $30 for your $15 entry. If you're like me and Colin, we're just trying to break even. Sometimes we have these multiple entries. So we'll see how that works out. But listen, let's talk a little bit about race number 1, Colin, because I know this was one that, you know, it's a maiden special weight race. But before we get to that, you know, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the keys that you've been putting together when we're talking about Assiniboia thus far, because we're only 2 days into the meet, but there are already some interesting trends that I think that are emerging. You mentioned a couple of them. And so I wanted to share this graphic that you put together, and maybe you could just talk a little bit about some of what's trending at Assiniboia Downs.
Yeah. And one more thing I like about this, that I've come to like about this track, is having 2 kids under the age of 4. It's really hard on a Saturday and it's really hard on a Saturday and Sunday to kind of keep track of all the, you know, let's face it, that's where the meat of the bone is when you're following horse racing. When you have a 4 and a 1-year-old, man, you're just like trying to survive the next 10 minutes, and you peek in and see who won, and then you're like, oh, okay. This only having Monday and Tuesday nights for the first week allows you to really quickly kind of go back and spend, when you do have those little bits of time, and quickly know to put together something like this. And sure, it's only two meets, 2 days so far, but then you got 2 this week, and then you got 3 next week. But this early week racing allows you to kind of do that for those of us that have kids to watch over. So what I will say is that we're 14 races last week, 7 on Monday, 7 on Tuesday. And one thing that I was really interested in, because you put this in my head about at Assiniboia Downs, it's kind of a community where the horses go there and they stay there and they race against each other throughout the meet. Okay. So if they have been there and they haven't raced in September, one thing I wanted to pay attention to was horses that have raced in the calendar year of 2023. We saw some horses come in that had been racing March and April fairly consistently. We even saw one that had run in February. Mm-hmm. So out of those 14 races, 9 of those races were won by horses with a start in 2023. So I thought that was kind of leading into that bias that I have so far been paying attention to. A lot of those horses also have been moved off of the turf or synthetic and run well on the dirt at Assiniboia. So that's another little angle that I'm kind of paying attention to, which is maybe horses that have been running on turf or synthetic last 2 or 3 starts moving in to run on the Assiniboia dirt. 5 winners. So the 5 winners that didn't have a start in 2023, and I mentioned this in my open about Rye-bred, they were all early speed type horses. They got out front and they were able to basically, you know, I don't want to say hold on, but they were able to dictate the pace, and they were on the front of it. And that was an advantage to those that if they didn't have a start in 2023, you at least wanted a horse that was going to be on your front end. And there's your 14 winners. So it's 9 that either raced in 2023 or the 5 that didn't. They were all early speed. The other point of information that you passed along, which was the shippers that have come in, because a lot of those horses that are shipping in are the ones that have run in the calendar year 2023. Obviously, I think Asmussen had one coming in from Oaklawn. I believe the Olives horse was Cox. Was that coming from Oaklawn?
Yeah, it used to be I mean, the former Asmussen, former Cox. Yeah, I mean, they kind of left the barns, but yeah, they were. One was coming in from Oaklawn, one was coming in from Keeneland maybe, and one was coming in from maybe Hawthorne as well. So yeah, they're coming in from kind of all over, but Oaklawn shipped in particularly well, I know.
Yeah, they were 2 for 2, I believe, what we saw. So, you know, Oaklawn, the Turf Paradise, and the Golden Gate shippers have so far run well, but, you know, it's also, those are the ones that have been running in 2023. So you have to pay attention to that layoff angle. And one thing that is very interesting, when you told me that they're going to be running against each other, I didn't know they'd be running against each other so quickly, because in race one, we grabbed the video of you for you, because we have this number 1 horse, I Am Milla.
Yeah.
Who lost in that Olives Candy. Olives Candy was the horse I was trying to think of with the olive name in it. That was the Brad Cox horse. I Am Milla ran last Monday.
Yeah, she did. And we have the video here for you as well of I Am Milla from last Monday, and she is wheeling back on 7 days rest. She's the number 1 horse today, but Colin has it circled here. She was the 8 horse in this particular race, which was just last week against a really good horse in Olive's Candy. And you see she got off to an okay start, but a little sluggish. And to your point, you need to be on the lead if you're not going to be, if you're coming in fresh. And, you see her coming in on a stretch. Looks like she really needed one. The horse was a little green as well coming down. This was only her second career start, so you could still see some greenness there, kind of shaking the head. And there you saw kind of the top 2, clearly the best. But, I think it's important that I Am Milla is a horse that now has one under the belt, so to speak, coming out of the first week and now is coming back. And what was really amazing to me was how effective her trainer is at this move of wheeling back on less than a week's rest, and is actually won 3 out of 4 races doing this with a huge $6 ROI. So there's some success wheeling horses back quickly, especially, 5 furlong to a 5 furlong sign. You're asking the horse for a lot, and didn't seem like the horse was taxed that much in that particular race. So certainly something to keep an eye on, some of those horses that are wheeling back quickly.
Yeah, she's also dropping into a race here that's restricted. That last race was open company, so she drops into a restricted race for maiden fillies.
Yep.
And we're getting a live checking. We have live coverage from she's not at the track tonight, but Cindy's checking in and telling us that it's a windy, rainy situation up there. Now I just checked and I don't see any changes. No scratches.
No scratches tonight, which is great.
As fast. So how rainy is it, Cindy? We need Cindy in front of a green screen on the weather, giving us the live shot of
on-site meteorologist. Exactly. Well, listen, Jimmy checking in from the chat. Jimmy, appreciate the kind words. We're excited to become, certainly a partner here with the Assiniboia. Everybody out there listening right now, make sure to press that like button on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to everything we're doing on Trust the Profits, make sure to press that, because in addition to Assiniboia, we have a load of stuff that we're going to be doing, getting ready for the Triple Crown in Belmont, getting ready for the summer up at Saratoga, obviously, going into the fall at Keeneland, going into the Breeders' Cup in November. We got you covered 24/7, 365. We're even going to have Royal Ascot coverage, despite probably only 200 people wanting to watch that, but I love talking about it, so it doesn't really matter. And so I will inevitably do some Royal Ascot stuff as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that, but really appreciate it. Keith, good to see you checking in as well, my friend. I know you're a little under the weather. Keith was great last week, helping holding it down when everybody else was busy. So Keith, appreciate you being on last week and in the chat this week as well. So this is great. Yeah,
I love Alex's comment here, because this is exactly what we talked about on the first couple races that we saw, where the horses are coming around and then they go like, it's like, why are they all of a sudden 8 and 9 wide?
Yeah, no, exactly. It is. You can tell it's early in the season when at Assiniboia when that sort of thing happens, because the horses do. It was so funny because I was watching replays from late last season, and it was so noticeable how tight they took the turns late in the season. And then I would watch a replay from May, and they're going way, they're 6, 7 wide. And it takes a little time to get used to doing the turns again. So we'll see. That could be, something to keep in mind for horses that are a little bit more fresh, probably can handle things like that. So certainly.
I have a question for you, Matt, though, because we're closing in on the Stable Duel lockup.
Yep.
I'm always interested to hear from you who you feel you are like most confident in on this program, that you kind of immediately said, yes, this horse is going in all 3 of my stables because you're that confident in it. And is it one of those low priced or higher priced horses?
So both. I'll say very quickly both. Touch of Love is in all 3 of my stables, the 6 horse in the 3rd race, all 3. I also think Stay Happy, the number 4 horse in the 5th race, is, I think, an all 3 of mine. That's a heavy favorite that I think is the goods, and I think is just better than everybody else in that race. And then I really like the 7 horse in the last race, Miami Souvenirs. And
Me
that's a
too.
horse that's not too expensive, 5 to 1 on the morning line, $6,000. That's one I liked a lot that I put in, I think 2 of my 3, if I'm not mistaken, maybe all 3.
Yeah, I believe my Miami Souvenirs really has a pace advantage in that race. It's all
Yes.
early speed, and I think he's going to be the one, if it's a he, the one closing. I went to
Yep.
that same race as you and felt very confident, not only in Stay Happy, who I have in all my
Yep.
stables, but I also really like the 2 there, House Limit.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a nice
I
horse.
put House Limit in all my stables as well. The speed figures kind of tower over the field,
Yep.
at least back in September. Again, you're dealing with that long layoff, but what I saw in the workouts is some pretty good ones in the last, running every 7 to 8 days since April 22nd. She put up 36 3 furlongs. So at Assiniboia,
Yeah.
that's blazing speed. This horse
It
is
is.
10 for 37 lifetime wins, but
Yeah.
also 19 for 37 in the money. So you want to
Yeah.
pay attention to horses that are going to be in the money, not just win.
Yeah, absolutely. For Stable Duel, that's one of the most important statistics is finding horses that hit the board is incredibly important. Even if they don't win, horses that hit the board. There's a horse actually, I think, in the last race, if I'm not mistaken, that I have in 1 or 2 of my stables. I'm trying to pull it up here. Yeah, HD's Hope, who's a really big long shot in the last race, the number 8 horse, 15 to 1. But that horse just hits the board a fair amount of the time. And it's like, well, that's a useful horse to have in this sort of instance. So we got a celebrity checking in from the chat. Razor, what's going on, my brother? How you doing? Nick Nurse, new coach of the 76ers. I know you and I are both pretty excited about that. And Razor might be tuning in and it might be checking in for some Eastern Conference final plays as well. Halftime plays, all that sort of thing. Razor's awesome. If you don't follow Razor on Twitter, you absolutely should. He got you covered for not just horse racing, all types of racing. So appreciate Razor hanging out in the lounge with us. That's been great. And, to answer Alex's question, am I going to wear top and tails if I do Royal Ascot coverage? Probably. Going to have to figure out how to get these suckers around it, but we are absolutely going to have a top hat for that coverage. Paul checking in from Ireland. Paul, how are you doing, my friend? This is great. We got international people. We got people up in Canada. We got people in Ireland. We got people in the States. This is awesome here on the Monday night lights, Assiniboia Downs live stream. But Colin, we're starting to get close to post time for the first race, so we should probably talk a little bit about how you and I see that first race kind of playing out. We got about 7 minutes or so to post time, 8 minutes to post time. So when you were looking at this, obviously we talked a little bit of I Am Mila. I talked a little bit about the number 6 horse as well, but there's a heavy favorite in this race. The number 2 horse, Lipstick Lady, if I'm not mistaken, number 4.
Double Barrel Delight.
Yeah, Double Barrel Delight. Thank you. And so, I was just interested kind of how you approached this first race and kind of how you were playing it, not just on Stable Duel, but in just pari-mutually.
So what I wrote down for my notes, the very first note I wrote is low confidence in race 1 because, it's hard early in a season like this. Not only are you dealing with generally horses that are coming off of long layoffs, now you're entering the waters of long layoffs against horses that just haven't raced yet. And so when you look at that, you start to try to find, we went back and looked at what I Am Mila did last Monday. You gave out those great stats on the trainer who comes back 1 to 7 days and does really, really well. This 2 and the 6. So first thing I look at when you're trying to separate some of this is strong jockeys on 2-year-olds. And Xavi and Chow, his actually best number is racing on 2-year-olds, along with a trainer who fires really well with 2-year-olds. Also, the 2 Double Barrel Delight has raced in what I call key races because horses have come back to win out of those 3 races that this horse is running. Both the first race, the winner came back to win. The second race, the winner came back to win. And his last race, the second place horse came back to win. So that shows you that this horse was running against some quality competition and is probably part of the reason that this horse is going off at 9 to 5. You mentioned the positive pedigree angle that you had on the 6. And then the same thing with the 4, which we hadn't talked a lot about until just as we were kind of getting ready for this show. This horse had 6 workouts, and the jockey Jorge Carreno has done really, really well so far. So you kind of really, man, I had a hard time, and that's why I just wrote down in my notes low confidence. I did end up using Double Barrel Delight in my stable duel. I believe when I was putting that together, though, it kind of became like you're picking your 9th or 10th horse, and you're suddenly like, wow, I have a lot of money to spend, so let me go back through this.
Yeah.
And Double Barrel Delight ended up being where I landed. But please help me with my confidence because it's a little shaky in this race.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can help you much with the confidence, but because I saw this as kind of 3 clear horses. I like the 1, I like the favorite, and I like the 6. And so, which my DR is acting up right now. So I think I like the 1, the 2, and the 6 the most in this race. And let me just get this. Yeah. So I liked 1, 2, and 6. That's kind of the way I saw it. I didn't necessarily see a lot out of the 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5. That's good information about Carreno that you have on the 4. But I'm probably just going to approach this from a straight up like try box or a try key box in all likelihood of just using that 1, 2, and 6 in some combination. I probably will key in on the 2 in all likelihood because I think that's one I'm most confident in and running well in that particular instance. But I think the 1, I cannot understate how important it is. I think that they have 1 under their belt. Now, I don't love the 1 breaking from the inside, because the other thing to notice is the 1, and we showed it in the highlights, does not break particularly well. And so breaking from the inside in a sprint is, that's not a great place to be, usually stuck inside and getting shuffled back to the end. Now, it's only a 6-horse field, so sitting last out of 6 isn't that big of a deal, I don't think, but it's just something to make note of. I'd love it if she was a little further outside. I really do like the pedigree play of the 6 a lot. I think that might, if I do a win bet, I'm probably just going to do a straight win bet on the 6 because I think you get a little bit of money there. And, we see Cindy here checking in on the chat saying the 5 has got a really nice ownership group as well. So something certainly to keep in mind for a first-time starter that's had some decent works as well. And we should mention that trainer Liz Pruitt is on fire. That is a trainer who just absolutely cleaned up last week. I remember last Tuesday, I think won 4 races out of the 7. So was just absolutely going bonkers last week. So just, going to those hot hands sometimes can be really, really beneficial when it comes to Assiniboia. So so that's kind of, go ahead, Colin.
And I checked out so I haven't never purchased the HRN Power Picks before, I'll be honest. I saw them on the Assiniboia Downs website, and I said, it'll be interesting to kind of track these tonight and see what they think and go through it. Mm-hmm. They had the 5 just to pose as their top pick. And from reading the way that they set up these power rankings is that you want a low score. So your lowest score is what's best in the power rankings for the HRN. And the 5 has an 18-point, I'll call it, lead over who they picked second, which was that 2 Double Barreled Delight. So HRN Power Picks went with the 5. And for Jeff's CHV Charting Horse Value Picks, he gave a K to the number 2 Double Barreled Delight. The K is the one that's best for his picks, not the K plus, but the K. So just to give you some of that free information that's on that Assiniboia Downs site, just to add in to your handicapping. And I always like to kind of go through my own handicapping first and then take a look and peek and see, was I right or was I way off? And like I said, after the first race going through it once, I kind of just continued on my merry way. So this wouldn't be a bet that I'd probably bet. This wouldn't be a race I bet pari-mutually, just because of that low confidence and trying to be a little bit stingier where I'm placing my pari-mutual bets. So it's all in on the stable duel, where I do have that 2 in one of my stables. And in my other stable, I skipped the race. So for me, I'm using the 6 in one of my stables. I'm using the 2 in another one of my stables. And so I'm kind of going a little bit back and forth there. And just kind of, it's one where I had confidence in who I thought the top 3 were, but I did not have a huge amount of confidence in who I thought was going to win that particular race. And that can be a tough place to be in from a stable duel perspective, because you're like, you really need to kind of, if you don't feel confident in a horse,
do you really want to spend a lot of money and potentially finish third in a race? Like, that's not usually a great spot to be in. So, that's always a concern. Colin, what's going on in the Celtics game? Because I can tell that you're watching something on the second screen over there.
First play, and Tatum came down on his ankle basically sideways, and he was down hurt as they're showing the replay. But whenever you see an ankle kind of go sideways, it's always a little bit of a,
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. So
he's up and walking. He's up and walking.
Okay, up and walking. That's good. You always want these things to end on, good terms in terms of, you want teams at full strength going into this. Yes. So absolutely. So
especially the guy that scored 50 against the Sixers in Game 7.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So I try to like you, Colin, and you make it more difficult every day sometimes. And so we got a lot of different comments here in the chat about different horses you're playing, but let us know in the chat, how are you playing race number 1? Let us know how you're betting. Let us know, who are you betting up top? Are you using some vertical exotics? How are you betting race number 1? Love to hear some of the different angles that you all are using there. And we got a minute to post, or 0 minutes to post now for race number 1. They're making their way to the gate. Again, we are going to be able to show you the live stream here with the audio. We're going to be able to play it all. And so we're going to be sharing that momentarily once they go off. And so we'll have a lot of fun watching that. And then we'll react to it, start talking about the next race. And we'll keep you updated on those stable duel contests. Make sure to get in the game. Time is running out. And listen, from an odds standpoint, we got the favorite, the number 2 at 7-5. And then there's kind of a slew. The 4, 5, and 6 are all pretty close together. The 6 is the second choice right now at 3-1. The 5 is the third choice at 4-1, and the 4 is the fourth choice at 9-2. Then you have the number 1, I Am Mila, who we referenced earlier, coming back on a week's rest at 8-1, and then the number 3, a little bit of a long shot at 14-1. So that 2 is kind of taking more money now, currently 3-2, and is your betting line favorite. Kurt is, just to let people know what the picks are from the track, Kurt is going with the 4-6-2 as his top plays, and Stretch is going 2-4-1. So a little bit of variation there. I think, Colin, to feed into your point about not necessarily feeling hugely confident in this one.
Yeah, it's tricky. It looks like the chat's coming up a lot with the 5. The 5 seems to be who the chat's on. Obviously, Cindy talked about the ownership group. Penn State Scott, Jimmy Johnson are on the 5. Actually, Jimmy Johnson's on the 6. He's doing a pick 3, 6, all 6.
Ooh, okay. So
best of luck with that.
All right. Well, Jimmy, we like the 6 on the end. That's a lot of confidence to put in that 6, but I like it. I like it.
Take a shot. And then who's the 6 in the third leg that he's
That's the one we both like. That's the one that we both like, Touch of Love. Yeah.
Yep. So we can get behind that. We can definitely get behind that.
Get behind. This is that we endorse. TTP endorses this 6 all 6 pick 3. Absolutely. So Marla boxing the 2-5-6. I see. We got the formula checking in on the chat. Always appreciate the formula checking in. And he's got a lot of great stuff. You put a bunch of really great content last weekend for all the stuff going on at Santa Anita. Some great races out there before we logged on today. But they are making their way to the gate. And so I'm going to actually bring up the track feed here so we can watch along. And I'll turn the volume on here momentarily as we get closer to them getting loaded in. But Colin, your final thoughts. Who do you have to win on this one?
Well, this is my first time seeing the track. So Cindy, looks like the rain, at least for right now, is holding off. The trees are moving at about a 10-mile-an-hour wind. So
yeah.
It's a headwind. But yeah, it looks like at least fast for now. 4 to 5 on the 2 is just my confidence in a race like this. I don't know that I would be taking that big of a price, and continues to tick down. So it'll be interesting to see how she runs. Excuse me. But I think everything that I kind of talked about with that horse is probably where you're getting some of that betting. 3 key races where you've had winners come back, also dropping down, and the connections. You get a strong trainer and a strong jockey on 2-year-olds is probably where leading some of the betting public to this number 2.
Yeah, and so I completely agree. I'm still going to use the 6 as my top pick in this one, but absolutely, I'm going to play this kind of 6-1, and I'm going to give our girl I Am Mila a little bit of a shot coming back on a short turnaround, and I think gets one under her belt. So let's take it over to Kurt as they load him in.
Right in. You're left to load. Just a pose. And just waiting on Cussin' Cat to the outside. They're all set. They're at the post. And they're off. Quickly from the inside, Double Barrel Delight. Shows good early speed, matched on the outside by Cussin' Cat. Moving up smartly in third, that's Brownell Bay with Just a Pose. 4 lengths off of it. Another 3 lengths to I Am Mila, and well back to No Midnight, about a dozen off the lead. Straight to the lead, Cussin' Cat now takes over by 2. Double Barrel Delight back to second, Brownell Bay all by himself in third. Battling it up behind them, Just a Pose, I Am Mila, No Midnight. They hit the head of the lane, and this is Cussin' Cat all by herself. She is up by 5. Cussin' Cat absolutely in cruise control. Second best today, Double Barrel Delight. Third's going to go to Just a Pose, and fourth, I Am Mila.
All right, there we go. Cussin' Cat making me look smart right off the bat.
Look at you. Did you hook up with Jessica Tugwell earlier for the pedigree puzzle to find out? Did she give you the tips on the pedigree in race 1 at Assiniboia Downs? That was a great call by you and getting 5-1, and good job, Marla, hitting the exacta.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was great. That was great by Marla to hit that, and yeah, that was awesome. Obviously, super impressive, great start out of the gate. From the outside post position, was able to get up there on the lead, and I don't know about you, Colin, but one of the things I really liked to look at when I see a horse go to the lead, I always look at how tight or loose the reins are on the horse. Because it can tell you, even if the jockey's hands are pretty stationary, how tight the reins are, I think, can tell you a lot in terms of how much horse potentially is still underneath that jockey. And it was noticeable when they went around the turn, I could tell Cussin' Cat, the reins were still very tight on Cussin' Cat, and they were all out pretty much so on the number 2 horse, even though the jockey was not necessarily asking yet, the reins were very loose. And so I felt pretty good about things in terms of going into that far turn, and Cussin' Cat certainly made me look smart there with that pedigree play. But hey, they should keep linking this dam and this sire together, because now you have 2 consecutive first out winners from both of them. So really great to see that. And then the 2 ran second there. And then I Am Mila ran 4th, a little bit better, and got away a little bit better from that inside post position as well than she did certainly last time out. So that was, I thought, a really good call for Kurt. And yeah, that was a fun way to start the evening there. Any other thoughts from that first race, Colin?
Well, when you watch that head-on when they did break, there was actually a lot of bumper cars going on the outside with the 4, 5, and 6. The 6 actually came in right away on the 5, and then cleared. I don't know if there probably won't be a call on that one, but that's the first thing I saw when they opened the gate was the 3 left horses all collide into each other. But then for the 6 to really nicely move up on the 2 who wasn't involved in that traffic and had everything set up for him. So that actually makes that 6 win even more impressive for a first-time starter. So great call by you, getting your 5-1 morning line horse home for your for one of your stable duels.
Yeah. And so, Shadi, we are able to show the live feed. Absolutely. We're going to be showing it with volume. The good folks at Assiniboia said show away. We can show the live feed as much as we want. And we're going to have Kurt and Stretch on some of our shows later in the season as well. So they're going to be joining us. And we're really excited about this partnership with Assiniboia. They couldn't be nicer. They already have our information up on the player portal as well. So if you go to the player portal, it'll take you straight to our YouTube page and our live streams. So really appreciate that, as well as all the other great content like Jeff's charting horse values, like the HRN impact statistics, like the Brisnet past performances, all of it free. That's the best part about it. So if you're a horse player and you sit there and you go, I don't want to pay $4 every time I want to download PPs. I don't want to, it gets expensive to start looking at that. And as Colin just popped up here on the screen, they're doing right by the bettors too, Colin.
Yep, there'll be a $50,000 guaranteed pick 4 in the last 4 races. It's $1 minimum wager, and Matt and I, as we get closer to that, are going to try to put together a ticket together. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if we're like two siblings that just can't agree and we have to go our own ways, or if we can come to some sort of agreement on maybe where a single should be or who should we put in. Maybe you guys can throw in the chat what you would like to see for our budget. So if you guys are going to play along with us, give us a budget of how much you're playing. I was thinking maybe $36 range, or but I guess I shouldn't say that. We should see where we fall on horses, because maybe you go single, and then you don't need to spend as much. But we'd love to hear if you guys are playing along, what you'd like us to try and put together. And that will be interesting as it gets closer. We'll start jumping ahead and try and take down that pick 4 tonight with a $50,000 guaranteed start into the pool. That's always very generous for the players.
Absolutely. And Shotty, absolutely get it up at the sports bar. People want to see the profits. They want to see Assiniboia Downs. Listen, sports bars in Arkansas love this stuff. So absolutely, Shotty, need to get that up there. Love to see it. And listen, congrats to Marla again, who cashed on that ticket on the exacta. So that was really good to see as well. And you're right. I think, we'll take a look at that pick 4 as we get to it. And yeah, I think that there's at least, I think, one potential single to keep the cost down in that sequence that I think we both could probably agree on. And right at the wire, Alex says, listen, we should do head-to-head tickets. See whose tickets end up going better. We can do that too. We'll both be out in the first leg probably, but we could both try to do that. Who at least gets 3 of the 4 legs, right? So no, we'll have fun with that. Absolutely. But yeah, do let us know in the chat, if you want to play along with us, give us a budget. Give us, say, hey, listen, try to make a ticket for under $20 or under $30 or, under $50 or something along those lines. And we'll put a ticket together, maybe put a couple of different versions of a ticket together to go, listen, if you really are looking for a skinny ticket, this is maybe the way to go. If you're looking for something a little bit more, you can afford to do that. Just to kind of put a cap on the end of the last race, Cuss and Cat is your $13.80 winner. And a double-barreled Delight pays $260 to place, and Just Oppose, the number 5 horse, who I know a lot of people were high on, does come in third and pays $230 to show. The exacta, the 6-2, $2 exacta pays $26, so $13 for a $1 exacta, and the 20-cent trifecta pays $2 or $7.93, and the superfecta, which is also 20 cents, pays $19.91. So like I said, a little bit of a cap there on race number 1. And now we immediately move to race number 2, Colin. That's the beauty of the live stream here at Assiniboia. And we're moving on to race number 2. And we'll, like I said, keep you updated with how the stable duel entries are going for everybody. Once those get updated, but those will probably be another 5 or 10 minutes or so. But Colin, why don't you kick things off in race number 2 and kind of where are you looking in this one a little bit?
Yeah, so they're going 5 furlongs. This is another claiming $5,000 race for non-winners of 2. Well, I'll kind of keep this theme up, at least for tonight, as we talk about this. Only the number 5, Gucci Bling, has raced recently, and actually is the only one that has raced in 2023. So this horse raced May 13th and April 7th, both at Vonner Park, going 4 furlongs. Those are maiden claiming races. Actually won by 4 lengths last time, kicking clear. So as we'll keep an eye on that trend that we talked about, what's trending earlier in the night about Assiniboia Downs, you do have one horse coming in here. Who's your 9 to 5 morning line favorite? But I wasn't crazy about this horse.
Correct.
Um,
Good,
I
good,
actually,
good take, Colin. Good take.
there we
Take
go.
I agree with.
Let me tell you where I decided to go instead.
I like it.
When I did my own handicapping prior to looking at any other information, which is where you should always kind of lead with your gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in, I think, a horse that you talked about as well, number 6, Mia's
Oh yeah.
Majesty.
Mm-hmm.
This is an angle that we've talked about on many of our shows, which is just increasing speed figures, at least as a 3-year-old. Brisnet 25, then a 60, then a 64. That was on synthetic and turf. Then they moved to the dirt and puts up a 71 and goes wire to wire. It was a maiden claiming $40,000 race, and it was also in the mud, but it was 5.5 furlongs, so it gets a little bit of a cutback here. I also like that last work on May 23rd, going 3 furlongs in 36 seconds. So you talked about, you have to kind of shift your mind when you're walking through some of these races at Assiniboia Downs. And when you see 36 and 3 anywhere else, you're kind of like, okay, average, it's
That's
what
fine.
you expect.
Yeah.
But here, that's a quick work.
Yeah, third out of 19 that day. To your point, and even the 5 furlong work, the one before that was a 102 and 3, and that was 5th out of 33. So I mean, it's clearly working out better than a lot of the other horses at Assiniboia right now.
Then you went to number 2, Drop Caribou, and I was kind of back and forth on this one. Didn't love a 2-to-1 price. But I saw that this horse had been running on the synthetic at Woodbine 5.5, 6.5 furlongs. That got in my head a little bit of coming off of synthetic and turf. This horse hasn't actually raced on the dirt, which I would love, but it was hard to kind of accept that 2-to-1 price. And then I went to the Jeff's Charting Horse Values charts, and this horse has a K+, and that is his best. That's kind of the standouts for his cards, and I got to update my knowledge of his charts, but I do know what a K+ is, and I do know that that's the best one that you can have. So it certainly caused some intrigue there. The number 1, I didn't know what to do with. These horses always kind of trick me, the ones that you see running at 800 feet and 600 feet and just showing really early speed. Then comes back to 6 furlong and runs a okay race. 12-to-1's not bad. So I was kind of iffy on that one. The 3 I think was interesting is what I wrote down. The connections are very strong. Just if you're a speed figure player, they're a little bit on the light side compared to the others in here. Has finished 3rd 5 times out of 13. So if you want this horse in your stable duel, that's nothing too bad. So I think I've gone through almost the whole field here. The number 4 is the last one I didn't talk about. The number 4, if you circle the races that were on the dirt, a little bit worse, I guess, than what they were on the synthetic. So I've kind of already seen what this horse does with the synthetic to dirt changeover. I only highlighted that it had raced on the synthetic. So for me, I wrote down the 6, but I fear that this horse might need one. And then I was 6-2 because I let Jeff's charts influence me. So we'll go with 6-2, and you tell me where I'm wrong and who you like.
No, it's funny. We're very similar in a lot of ways. I also really like the 6. And Mia's Majesty, that was a horse I thought was I liked a lot, and I thought the perk up on dirt was something that was notable that last time out, finally getting on the dirt at Fort Erie, if I'm not mistaken, and getting the win. And I actually went back and watched that replay, and I thought it was a noteworthy replay that I wanted to pull up a little bit. And so we're going to watch the highlight from Mia Majesty's maiden victory. And
this is my first time seeing this.
Oh, yeah. And so one of the things to pay attention to, she's on the lead, and the overwhelming favorite in the race kind of looms up to her outside. And I think it really shows her kind of guts in a lot of ways. So she's the number 6 horse in this race on the outside, or in the inside, I should say. And now the 4, who's the favorite, looms up on the outside and has every right to get past her at this point, and just doesn't. And Mia's Majesty digs in. There's a threat on the inside. She keeps running. She keeps running straight. Yes, it's a muddy sealed track, but I really like the way that she kind of kept on and did her business there to break her maiden and repelled 2 efforts, one from the outside, one from the inside. So that was one that I like I said, I really liked and I thought was an impressive maiden victory as maiden victories go. So that was one that attracted me to her quite a bit. So I definitely did have that 6. And then I also like the 2 quite a bit as well. I thought that horse made a lot of sense. And for the reasons you outlined. And then the 4, I'm a little higher on the 4 than you are. And I'll tell you why. It's because this horse is cutting back in distance. And I think that's what this horse needs. They've been making this horse go long on the dirt, on the turf, on the synthetic. And I just don't know if this horse is really a route horse. I mean, this horse tends to show a little bit of early speed and then fade sometimes, or like kind of is placed okay early and then can't really ever finish a race. And so I do think getting on the dirt is probably all right from a speed figure standpoint. And then I do think it's just a matter of, can this horse, can he do the 5 furlongs? And I think that's actually maybe a little bit better of a cutback for this particular horse. So I kind of like that 4 a little bit. And I know that 4 is taking a little bit of money right now as well. The 2 in this race, I understand why Jeff has the K+, because if you just look at the speed figures, this horse absolutely towers over the rest of the field. It's just those speed figures are on a different surface. And so you do wonder about that transition. We saw that last week with a horse coming in from Woodbine and that form not necessarily translating from the synthetic to the dirt. We'll see. But we've also seen those shippers from Golden Gate coming in from the synthetic to the dirt translates just fine. So it depends on the horse, I think, in a lot of instances more than anything else, but certainly a very capable horse. So 2, 4, 6 is the way I kind of saw this one. I'll probably play it the inverse, though. I'll probably play it like 6, 2, 4 in all likelihood in terms of my top 3 in that order. But yeah, those are kind of, that's where I'm going in this race, but interested to hear in the chat where everybody else is going in this one as we draw closer to post time in race number 2. We still have 8 minutes to post.
Why don't we take a look at them in the paddock? You want to show that who they're showing?
Absolutely.
The now.
Let me hold on. Let me expand my screen a little bit, and then we'll do that.
Let's see if my eyes looking at the horses is better than looking at the horses on paper.
Yeah, no, you can do some visual handicapping. You and Sarah El Badwi are good friend at Naira, who always likes to do a visual handicapping. And so, yeah, and so you can see, you got Freud's vision there. They're highlighting a little bit. You see the 2 in the stall next to him, but the 2 obviously taking a ton of money at 3-2 right now. The 4, your second choice at 5-2, and then you have the 5 and the 6 both at 4-1. And then you have the 1 and the 3, which are longer shots there at 10 and 18-1. So, yeah, I mean, we get to see a couple of horses here in the paddock. We still have 8 minutes to post in race 2. The jackpot pick 5 carryover race 3 is up to $23,180. And so you see Kurt is on the 5 here in this particular race, and 5-4-2, and Stretch is playing at 2-5-6. So again, a little bit of deviation there from the 2 guys on the track in terms of where they're going up top, and even some of the horses included in the try.
3 looks sleepy. 3 looks like he wants to put his head down. He's you see that twice. He's just put his head up against the wall. It's Monday night. It's a long weekend. He might have gone out a little too hard last night, and they're trying to rile him up. So I'll pass on the 3. Not interested in the sleepy horse, even though I said the connections were good and he was interesting.
So the sleepiness, yeah, it doesn't.
4 looks a little riled up. 4 keeps showing some energy. Who's the one that you're interested in?
Yeah, the interesting thing about the 4 is interesting. And what I will say is one of the things that we'll notice, and it's something, Colin, I'm sure you've noticed in the PPs and we'll keep track of throughout the meet, is a lot of these horses that are coming back from a long layoff, they also are changing barns in a lot of instances. There's a lot of horses that are running for a barn for the first time. You'll see a lot of previously trained by. It's not as if they got claimed, they got transferred barns. And
basically
so
this whole field.
Pretty much. And so the 4, the trainer, Devon Gittins, only 1 for 15 off trainer switch over the last 5 years. So not great figures there in terms of coming back from that trainer change for the 4. But you could say the same thing about the 2 actually as well. That Gardapi is only 6% off trainer change at lower level claimers over the last 5 years. But I do like some of the works. I think, some of the works are fine. This horse does only have 3 works going into this first race of the year. I think that's something also to keep in mind, is not necessarily just the caliber of works, but just the frequency of works as well. Some trainers, is this a horse's 3rd work on the cycle, leading up to their first race? There are some horses later in the card that are been 5, 6 works before they come out. So you figure maybe a little bit more fit, a little bit more foundation there going into their first race of 2023. But they're in the paddock and looking pretty good. So Colin, you're out on the sleepy 3. Anybody else?
Waiting to see my 6. Where's the 6? They need to pan a little to the right here.
Yeah.
They just want us. They're trying to sell us on this one. It seems like the one that they're really showing us nonstop here, but we'll see. The 6 back when it came off the layoff last year, ran September 5th, a year later, really put up a stinker. Does that concern you at all? Do you go back and look at previous off the layoffs for horses, and does that make you kind of a little hesitant on this 6?
100%. That is absolutely a concern. That is something I absolutely look at with these horses. I always sit there and, really kind of go back and look at, say, listen, how is this horse fired off the layoff before? Trainer change is one thing. It's a whole other thing when you're talking about, if your trainer statistics, I should say, is one thing. It's a whole other thing when you're talking about how does the horse actually respond to that. So that is something I absolutely look at every single time. And it does give me a little bit of hesitation. The other thing is I know there's a little bit of love for the number 5 here, who was the morning line favorite at 9-5. I don't know about you, Colin, but I also don't always love horses that all of a sudden pop up their best speed figure, wiring a field in a maiden claimer, and then go run against winners for the first time. I don't know. You don't see a lot of horses stack up wins that way. And so that was another reason maybe I was a little further out on the number 5. But we should give a shout out here to our good friend Sean Nolan, who's in the chat, who will be joining us perhaps a little bit later as well. And Sean, no love for Whitehall here. Listen, Whitehall is on absolute fire. The jockey, 36% so far at the meet. I mean, he's winning everything that's not nailed down, it seems like. So, certainly a worthwhile flat bet on just anybody jockey by Antonio Whitehall. So, definitely like him a lot in this sort of spot. And they've made their way to the track. We've got 3 minutes to post here for this 5 furlong, $5,000 claimer. And, Colin, has the board kind of shifted your opinion at all in terms of where you're going? You got a little bit of a look at some of the horses as well. So what are your additional thoughts on this one?
Well, we'll see how my eyes do with this game, because I'm going to say my paddock pick, as Maggie or those that are really good at it will say. Trust me, I don't endorse this to the fans out there, because this is not my specialty. But my eyes, my paddock pick looked at that 4. I thought that 4 actually looked pretty ready to go. And so 4-6 were actually kind of the 2 I think where I'm going to lean at now. And no, Sean, no love for Whitehall, because his horse looks sleepy to me.
Oh yeah, Sean.
His ears are perked. He looks like he maybe had a shot of espresso, so maybe he's ready to go there. My boy Christian. I don't know any Christians, but he looks like he's ready.
I know the only Christian I know is Christian Cage, who is the former wrestler, actually professional wrestler. And then Gucci Bling. Listen, there's always those Bling horses. Always are, I think a lot of fun. And you always know they're going to be Henry Witt Jr. horses as well, because you got Kim's Texas Bling. You got, Bling is all over the place. If you watch Lone Star Sam Houston, you know that. And so always a lot of fun there.
So how does 6 over the 2-4 sound to you for an exacta, or should I go 6-4 box? What would you lean towards?
Oh, I was probably going to do an exacta key of the 6, the key of the 6 with the 2-4 is the way I was going to go.
All right, then I'm going with you.
Yeah.
It's always funner when we're cheering together.
It is. Trish, I love the Bling horses too. I know my dad loves the Bling horses as well. So that's always a lot of fun to root for these horses. And again, another reason we love Assiniboia so much is these horses are going to be coming back in a few weeks, sometimes the next week, to race again. You get to know all of these horses. You get to learn more about the connections. It's always a lot of fun. It's a good time. So we always had fun last year getting to know everybody. And now this year, get to see it coming back. I will say for fans of Assiniboia last year, I had to go out and take a look. There's a horse that everybody's going to know about, Mia Bear. Mia Bear was like Bremont from Stable Duel always said she was the Rachel Alexandra of Assiniboia Downs. She was kind of the top filly for much of the season. Mia Bear is back in training. It looks like she's going to be pointed towards a race coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And so we're definitely excited for that. Can we expect Father DeSantis to come on anytime soon? Yes, we can actually. Not this week, but hopefully next week or the following week, we're going to do it. This is all contingent upon my brother teaching my father how to use the internet properly. And so my brother is out of town right now. He is coming back and he will be setting my dad up in terms of a laptop and getting things ready to go there. So that'll be a lot of fun, hopefully, to get him on here as well. But let us know in the chat, where are you going here in race number 2 on the card? Who are you betting up top? Who are you betting in terms of exactas, tries? Who do you need if you're betting those sequences a little bit? I know we got that all six still alive. So we're going to be alive through race 2, at least to that early pick 3 as well. But let us know in the chat who you're betting on in this second race at Assiniboia Downs. As we get closer to post time, Colin and I are both playing keying the 6 over the 2 and 4, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Colin?
That is what I placed, and I did back it up with just a 4-6 straight because
there you go.
I can't say my first paddock pick is the 4 and then not play it.
Paul's right there with you, all the way from Ireland. Paul's saying 4-6 exacta. There you go.
There we go.
So we're excited. We got a couple of people there. We got Alex on the 2. Certainly. Listen, the 2, I think the 2 is going to unlock a little bit of a key for us. I do think, for all the reasons we talked about, because if this is a horse that takes to dirt, then this is just another piece of evidence. I think we can start looking at these kind of synthetic horses and how they take to the Assiniboia Downs dirt, particularly when they're coming in from other tracks. We've seen success at Golden Gate. We've seen some of Turfway Park horses run pretty well up there as well. Not win yet, but run pretty well. And again, if we see a synthetic horse coming in from Woodbine and running well here and winning, again, that can tell us a little bit as well. But from a speed figure standpoint, certainly the 2 is the class of the field. It's just a matter of whether that speed translates onto a new surface for the first time. So we'll just have to wait there and see. But I know, Alex likes that angle of all-weather to dirt. I know our good friend Chase Sessions, the Wolf of Oaklawn, absolutely loves that angle as well. So that's usually one that's a lot of fun to play. I know a lot of good folks in Kentucky always play that Turfway to Churchill angle a lot of times, early on in the meet in particular. So we got Lawrence Chen checking in on the chat. Lawrence betting the 2 and keying the key 2 exacta with the 4, 5, 6 and reverse. So good luck to you in that bet. Russ has got the 6 with the 3, 4, 5 exacta. Good luck to you, Russ, in that one. Hope you hit that one. That'll be a lot of fun. So they're getting them loaded up here in race number 2. We're going to turn the volume on here. And by the way, we should just say thank you. I see right now we're up to almost 50 people here in the YouTube, just the YouTube live stream. That doesn't even count all the folks watching on Twitter. Listen, if you're watching on YouTube, press that like button on Trust the Profits. Press that subscribe button as well to get all of our great content. We're going to be coming to you every single Monday night of this Assiniboia meet and doing the live streams and keeping you up to date with everything going on. And let's turn this over to Kurt as they get loaded into the gate for race number 2.
Actually backs away. Now Drop a Caribou goes in. Carolina Gent's turn.
Colin, I know you always ask me about this, about like when a horse doesn't want to go in the gate, if this makes you more or less hesitant to embrace the horse.
Never change. Never change. Never change your bets. I've gone back and forth. I feel like over the periods of all my times watching racing, sometimes there's been a period where I'm like, oh no, cancel. And then others, they actually don't run as bad as you'd think. So I feel like it's just a toss up. And
Carolina Gent being a bit of a handful for the gate crew.
I remember early voting last year took forever to load into the gate at the Withers, if I'm not mistaken, and then shot out of the gate like a freaking cannon as soon as and I made a joke. I made a joke that it was the shortest amount of time anybody had ever been in a
two left to
gate.
load. Gucci Bling.
There we go.
He wanted to get out of there.
He did, indeed, and he did.
And just waiting on Mia's Majesty to the outside.
All right, here we go. Looks like Mia's Majesty is also being a little bit of a handful.
The field is set. They're at the post.
The one's a little fractious. Oh, they're off.
And they're off. From the far outside, Mia's Majesty shows early speed in between horses. Gucci's Bling on the inside. Drop a Caribou. Make it a trio in the early battle. Settled back a length and a half. That's going to be Freud's Vision. My Boy Christian now making a move from 5th to 4th. And the early trailer, Carolina Gent. On the lead, it's Drop a Caribou. Battling it out with Mia's Majesty, making giant strides. My Boy Christian in 3rd. Gucci Bling is back to 4th. They hit the head of the lane. Drop a Caribou has the lead by a length and a half. Back to 2nd, Mia's Majesty. Then it's My Boy Christian, but pouring it on. Drop a Caribou inside the 16th pole is gonna get it done. My Boy Christian, 2nd best. 3rd is going to go to Mia's Majesty, and 4th, the Carolina Gent.
There we go. Well, we had the right 3 horses. We just didn't have the right order. But we had the 2, the 4, and the 6 as the horses that we identified as liking a little bit, and we should have just stuck to that order: 2, 4, and 6. And that's the way they ran. And certainly the class of the 2 horse that really just played out there. I mean, that was once it got into the lane and was able to easily draw clear. So impressive victory. I thought a nice run coming from off the pace for the 4, My Boy Christian, but Drop a Caribou, clearly the class of this field, shipping in from Woodbine, and that all weather to dirt connection really pays dividends there. And Mia's Majesty
Stewart's opposed to number 2, Drop a Caribou, as your unofficial winner. 2nd goes to number 4, My Boy Christian.
So, yeah. So, Colin, what are your thoughts on race number 2 there in the books? 2, 4, 6.
Yeah, Alex is right that the price has really changed up there, where suddenly the 6 went off as the favorite, and you got that 2 at 5 to 2. So, yeah, we talk about it all the time about odds changing at the last second. And in that instance, it really worked out for those of you that rode that 2, Drop a Caribou. I said when I was talking about this race, the 2-to-1 price is what kind of scared me away. And that unfortunately did me in. I will also let you know that the 3 was certainly sleepy getting out of the gate and was well behind the field.
Sleepy, yes.
Well behind the field before they even hit that first turn, and the 4 ended up running decent. So the 4, who I kind of looked at paper and said, and then said, hey, looks pretty good in the paddock, ended up being a much better play. And then our 6 wrapped up for 3rd. But the thing in a stable duel standpoint is that not only did you spend the money on that 2, he won by a considerable distance. So those of you that are maybe new to stable duel, you need to realize that what's important is not only the victory, but also by how many lengths the horse wins by. And so that horse probably won by about 5 lengths. So you get 60 for the win and then 5 more points for the 5-length victory. So you might be looking at 65 points there for that 2 drop a caribou. So that's important to keep your eyes on when you're playing Stable Duel. It's also a reason why when you're trying to find long shots, you don't necessarily need them to. It's kind of like just don't lose too bad.
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, that you want to look for horses that traditionally do not lose by a large margin. Even if they're finishing fourth, they're finishing fourth by 2 lengths. Well, I can live with that because that would be 18 points in Stable Duel. Well, you're still getting positive points for a fourth place finish. Sometimes you'll see at Assiniboia, particularly the small fields and sometimes big margins of victory, you'll see horses finishing third. But it's important to look at like where they finish third, because it's like third by 19 and a half lengths. And you're like, okay, that's not really helping me out much. So you do have to be careful about that at times, because you do have a lot of these runaway winners. And we've had 2 in the last, obviously the first 2 races. As Alex points out, the winner of the first race got 65.75 points. So that was a huge win there for anyone who had the number 6 horse in race number 1. Now you come back to number 2, huge victory here by 7+ lengths. And so that's going to be another big point total for everyone who had Drop a Caribou in race number 2. What I'll say about that number 4, I mentioned the cutback from routing to sprinting. I do think that 4, I'll be interested as the season progresses with this 4 when it goes to 6 furlongs and 7 furlongs, particularly 6 furlongs, because that's going to be a 2. That's still a 1-turn race. I think 7 furlongs is a 2-turn race at Assiniboia. And so I'll be interested in those 6 furlong sprints, because I do think a little bit longer would be beneficial, because you saw that 4 kind of, making up ground and running late. And so I do think that foundation and experience of going 2 turns pays off late. I think 5 might have been a little too short for that 4. I think next time out, if they stretch this horse out to 6.5, I'll be interested to see how that horse runs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm curious what, we took Me His Majesty there in Stable Duel at 5-1, a 3rd place finish. In your mind, is that a win or a loss for you after you see that race?
I don't love the margin of defeat, because she's going to have lost by 10+ lengths. So that takes your 30 points for finishing 3rd and take about 10 points off of that. So she's going to get about 20 points. I don't hate it, though. It's not a killer. What kills you is when they get negative points. But at 5-1, I would have liked her to run 2nd. That would have been really nice, but I can live with a 3rd. It's not going to kill me at the end of the day. Also because I caught a winner in the first race at the same price. And so if you think about evening those 2 things out, that works well for me in that regard. But I do see some people in the chat are requiring a Celtics update, Colin. So where are we in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Celtics are struggling. They're down 13.
Yikes. What the hell's going on?
With 5.5 minutes left in the second quarter. So the few moments I've turned over or have watched, I've seen a couple pretty bad possessions, followed by the Heat coming down and drilling a 3, which has kind of been the overall consensus of, if you've watched this series, it's kind of what you've continued to feel is, that's another terrible 3, and there go the Heat, and then they just drilled another 3. So we'll see. They're at home. There's still plenty of time left. I don't watch a ton of basketball, I'll be honest, but when I do, it's like, I'll just watch the 4th quarter, because that's when it's going to come down to.
Yep. No, I'm the same way. And oftentimes, being a Philadelphia sports fan, I don't even have to really watch the game. I just know how it's going to turn out. And so I just know, like when the Sixers got up 3-2 on the Celtics, I knew that they were going to lose that series because that is what the Sixers do. And that is what Philadelphia sports teams do. Rest assured.
Celtics just had a nice offensive possession. The crowd's into it. They're amped, and the Heat come down and hit another 3. So
there you go. Well,
it's that kind of night so far for you, Alex, but we'll see. And for me, for the Cup, I'm all Panthers, baby. Panthers. So I grew up, I'm almost 40, and I loved goaltenders as a kid. And John Van Beesbroek was like my idol.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of things I did to try and meet John Van Beesbroek is like every Panthers game. I bought tickets every time the Panthers came into Boston. And so obviously bittersweet that they beat my Bruins this year. But if you're going to lose, and Matt made fun of me for this, but if you're going to lose, hopefully they're going to lose to a team that at least, it would have sucked if they went and got swept by the Maple Leafs the next round. Because then it's really like, well, how good were they? But they have really from being almost out of the playoffs or being out of the playoffs to coming in, winning 3 in a row against the Bruins, including a Game 7 at home, and then, making easy work of the Maple Leafs, who at that time going into that series were the favorites to win the Cup. I know here in Boston, we were really worried about the Hurricanes. And so to see them then wipe the floor with the Hurricanes, the worst thing for the Panthers, though, is the layoff. So we're talking about the layoffs for the Assiniboia Downs horses. The fact that the Knights and the Stars are kind of dragging on, it'll be good for rest. But when you're playing like that, man, I don't know that you want to all of a sudden sit down for 4, 5, 6 days or however it's been. But going back to, if it's not the Bruins, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for the Panthers. So that's where I will be turning.
There you go. I'm always a fan of that angle as well. If my team gets beat, I always want the team that beats my team to go on and do well, because that means, we lost to the best, at the very least. And so that's good. Speaking of the best, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of the best, I was going to say, not just Boston, the best is our good friend, Sean Nolan. Sean, you have been a traveling man these last couple of weeks. I tell you, you have been all over this past weekend. How are you doing, man? And how are you feeling? And, tell us all about your travels around the horse racing world this last couple of days.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. I definitely could use a vacation from the vacation, but it was awesome. On Friday, I was at Belmont with some friends, a great crowd there. And then Saturday, I was at Delaware Park for their opening day. They had about, I would say, probably like at least 10,000 people, which for Denver, for Delaware is a lot. There was a lot of people there, which is remarkable. I don't think they expected that many people, but it was a great turnout. Racing Twitter had some great, and the highlight was Carol. The owners of a Carol horse asked Matt into the paddock to see the horse. Great. He went into the paddock, and she won. So he got to go to the winner's circle, which is awesome. So that was the highlight of the day. And then yesterday we went to Monmouth for the first time. I'd never been to Delaware or Monmouth. Okay. And had just a beautiful facility. It wasn't having the best of betting days. And all of a sudden, my friend Lane Luzzie's in the last race. And I said, hey, man, 25-1. This horse looks legit. We'd run well at Monmouth last year. Put the 10 across, and boom, 25-1, he came through. So it was
you go.
Great way to end the trip, but it was a lot of fun. Awesome. Some great people out there. So
that's great.
A lot of fun.
That's great. So, we're glad you're able to pop on here, and appreciate you coming on, helping out as we get through Assiniboia. And you brought up Whitehall in the last race, and I got to be honest, he's on a horse I absolutely love coming up in this race. Number 2, I'm all over that horse. I absolutely love it. It just sounds like you like this horse too. Talk a little bit about why you like this one so much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously his angle, but I just like the fact that if you look at his races from last year, that last one I kind of throw an X through. I think towards the end of the season, I see the same thing in Woodbine sometimes. At the end of a season, these horses get tired. You know what I'm saying? And they just, it can be a long grind. And sometimes all they need is that little break, exactly. They're showing, I need a break, and just his races were very solid last year, including stakes races. Obviously their connections thought this guy was talented enough to be in stakes races. I think with the break off and obviously with Whitehall ahead, I think he's a very, very solid play in this race.
Yeah, I completely agree. He was my top pick, and he's certainly getting bet down right now. Started at the day at the morning line 4-1. Currently, your 6-5 top choice for that number 2. Colin, talk a little bit about where you were going in this particular race.
I wrote down definitely the 2 and definitely the 6. So that was at least my stable dual notes. Those are basically the 2 that
I'm with you.
If I had to kind of give my, my confidence level on the card of races that I was felt more confident in than others. This was definitely one of the ones that rose to the top compared to those first two races. The 1 and the 3 actually ran at Turf Paradise in April. And the 5 actually ran a week ago. So we had talked about in the first race, the 1 who had just run last Monday.
Yeah.
You're getting Kim's Texas Bling back here. Drops down, but was never really a threat at all. I actually went back to try and grab the replay for Kim's Texas Bling, and the replay was so like underwhelming. I couldn't even put something together to make it content worth on this channel. So I did try. I downloaded it and I tried to edit it, and I said, "There's literally nothing here that I can show that will bring any value to any viewer on this channel at this point right now." So I did not crazy about the 2-1 on Kim's Texas Bling. I think the 6 I wrote down value. Jorge Carreno, and as you mentioned, Matt, this horse in his last 4 races, 3 firsts and a 3rd place. That's right up what I like to see for when I'm going to put a horse in my stable for Stable Duel. So 2 and 6 was all about it for me.
Same here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 2-6 was the way to go. I used both or one or the other in all 3 of my stables. And, from a Stable Duels perspective, 69% of the people entering the contest tonight used the number 6 horse. So this was one of the most used horses in the entire contest because of that morning line. 10-1, only going to cost you $1,000. It feels like this horse is going to run you an honest race, even if, listen, Sean and I both like the 2 up top, but if if the 6 finishes second, that's fantastic from a value standpoint in Stable Duel to get a 2nd place horse for that sort of a price. So definitely understand why a lot of people like that one a lot. And we do have the updates coming on Stable Duel, so they are updated through 2, and I am currently in 16th place.
Nice.
As well as 32nd place, which is less nice. But I got so I have a 1st and a 3rd so far. I got Cussin' Cat, the winner in the first race, and then I got Mia's Majesty. Colin, to your point, finished 3rd, but also lost 8.5 points. So 21.5 points there for 3rd place.
I came in 4th with Whitehall and lost 10 points.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Was that far back? Okay.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That's always that's that's always the tough one. I think when you see the position of where your horses finished before you see the lengths, and you're like, oh, the horse finished 4th. Well, that's all right. And then you realize it's like 4th by 25 lengths, and you're like, all right, well, now we've lost 5 points. Yeah. So. I
am 41st and 45th, but I've only had 1 horse race so far. I skipped race 2 in one of my stables, and I skipped race 1 in the other one. So I'm going to be a closer in today's pool. But I love it. Come back in this race with 2 horses, the 2 and the 6, as we talked about in one of my stables.
Nice.
Yeah, both 2 of my first 3 plays were $1,000 plays. So at least they're all green. So at least that's if you can finish solid,
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so interesting because I think people who play Stable Duel regularly, this is an ongoing question that we have. And maybe for those of us who play a lot, let us know in the chat.
Sure.
Some people love trying to get out to a hot start in Stable Duel. They love trying to get out. They love trying to get some high-priced winners in the first 2-3 legs of the race. We all see some of those people. They're get 160 points in the first 2 races. It feels like they're going 2 horses early or on. I'm a little bit like you and Colin. I'm a little bit of a mind that bird type of guy. I like to come running late, and I like to come running with like 5 horses in the last 2 races or 3 races.
Yeah.
All right, let's try to really make up some ground. So, and I don't think there's one. Part of it depends on the card, right, and how things play out.
Sure.
But I like coming late. So we'll see. Alex in 2nd place right now in the Stable Duel contest. So nicely
well done, Alex.
He's one of these guys who front loads a little bit, but I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And
there's something to be said for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Paul the 6 is currently, I know you're asking about this. What's he on the tote board? He's currently 4-1 on the tote board at Assiniboia. So a little bit better odds there with the bookies at 5-1. for that 6. But yeah, this is and then our good man riders up, Tim Hughes, always
Yeah,
a
5th and
formidable
16th, Tim. Very
yeah,
solid.
absolutely. Always a formidable opponent there on Stable Duel. So
One of the
listen,
best.
let us know. Drop in the chat how you're doing on Stable Duel. If you were able to enter those contests ahead of time, we'd love to know you. Also, drop your stable name in if you haven't yet already. We'd love to see that as well, so we can give you a follow on Stable Duel. That's always a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this number 6, I do like the way this horse progressed over the course of the year. Sean, you mentioned the horses get tired a little bit as the year goes on. It felt like that's kind of what happened by the end with that number 6 as well. This horse had put a lot of races in 2022 and, still ran well, but has a style of liking to come from a little off the pace. Colin, you mentioned there should be a fair amount of speed in this race. So I feel like this 6 things should set up pretty nicely for this 6 in this spot.
Yeah. The other thing for our listeners, which is interesting, some insight about Canadian races, which is a little bit different than most of the U.S. races, with the exception of maybe Indiana, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the year, the connections know that they're not going to be running, so they drop them.
Right.
And so like maybe a horse is running all year. I'm just giving an example. I'm like a $20,000 claim. I'm just giving an example, and he's running there all year. Then all of a sudden, the big connections don't want to have a horse throughout the winter, so they're going to drop the $50,000 down to the 20,000. Now all of a sudden they're running against 50,000s who are in for 20, and they're not as fast as those guys. So they have worse kind of finishes at the end because all the big connections are trying to drop their quote baggage. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then because sometimes those numbers can look a little bit deceiving in Canada because they're not going to have them running during the winter. So they're trying to kind of drop them and get them claimed so they don't have to keep them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good advice to have. And let us know, because we're 2 minutes to post. So let us know how you're betting race number 3 here. We got Lawrence in the chat. He's going with the 5 and 7, 2 horses we haven't really talked about. Colin, I didn't know if you took a look at either of those horses. He's going a tri-key 5-7 all basically. Ooh. So interested in whether or not you saw anything from either of those 2 horses that would have led you in that direction.
Well, the 5 was the favorite I talked about. That I watched that replay last out and was just never there. I don't know if you have the stats on this trainer who's coming back within such a quick period of time. This is a horse that has been racing, so we talked about that angle of horses that are racing versus those that aren't. You got the 1-3-5 and 1-3-5 who have been racing. The 7's one of those ones coming off of a layoff that's been running at Assiniboia Downs. We'll show some early speed though. So as I mentioned, the trend of horses that haven't raced, you at least want to be on the front end, and this horse looks like it should be. I didn't have anything written down other than that, though, so I had definitely overlooked the 7. So, Lawrence, I'd love to hear what you saw that is intrigued for you. Maybe it is that early speed, but I think that there's enough early speed on the inside that might make it tough, which is why I preferred the 2, who's also by Speightster and Speightstown, which is definitely a sire that I pay attention to when I want some speed.
Absolutely. And just to follow up on a point you made, the trainer statistics on the 5, he is about 19% off the 1 week layoff, which is not bad with a slightly over $2 ROI. And there's a decent enough sample size of having done this 46 times over the last year. So this is kind of a go-to move that has at least a fair amount of success with this horse. And obviously dropping down from an allowance optional claimer last time out to a claiming race here in race number 3. So, we'll see if the 5 can certainly get it done. Is still commanding a fair amount of respect on the board at 2-1 right now. The 2 also your co-favorite at 2-1. And then you have the 6 going all the way down from 10-1 morning line down to 5-2. That's why we talk about this is a great stable duel horse. This is a horse that $1,000 on stable duel out of your fantasy $50,000 budget now is going off at 3-1. If it was 3-1 post morning line, that horse would cost you $8,000. So, just to kind of show, the sort of benefits of trying to find these horses that are going to have odds that drop. Kevin also on the 5 here. Kim,
hey,
Texas
Kevin.
playing. Good to see Kevin in the chat as well. We got William in the chat also. So glad to see all
Hey,
these
William.
folks in the chat. We got 50 people watching on YouTube. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure to press that like and subscribe button to get all of our content here on Trust the Profits. And most importantly, we're going to be here every single Monday night of the entire Assiniboia Downs meet. This is going to be a lot of fun. And we could not be more thrilled. And,
awesome.
We're going to have Colin, myself, we're going to have guests coming on like Sean. We're going to have folks like Barry Spears and Gino Bacola and all the guys from On the Wrong Lead at different times are going to be coming on. And so we're going to have a slew of different guests throughout the season. Carson's going to be on next week. My dad's going to get on eventually. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, we'll have a good time.
And stay tuned because immediately after this race, we're going to have to do it pretty quick because this isn't like Charlestown. The time quickly goes by. Matt and I, and hopefully Sean are going to try to put together a team/group pick 4 in that guaranteed $50,000 pick 4 pool. So stay tuned for that. If you are just tuning in, as soon as this race is over, we're going to have to speed up and dive into that pick 4.
Absolutely. $50,000 guaranteed pick 4, like Colin said. So that's going to be a good one to dive into there. And we'll kind of talk through that a little bit more. But and we see Karen Huff, VIP fan of the night. You got to love it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Congrats to Karen.
Love that.
And
well done.
we love that. But we should have a fan of the night. We'll see who the fan of the night is in the comments by the end. Yeah, no, we'll have a commenter of the night. Mr. Automatic. That's the commenter of the night.
There you go.
No.
I'm going to absolutely grab that graphic. I'll go back at this point before race 3, and we're going to have a VIP of the chat at the end of the night. That's what we should definitely do.
I love it. That's great. And so I don't know. We're going to figure something out where we were going to give some sort of a gift, or we're going to do some sort of a win bet for the VIP of the comment box. And we'll figure something out. We're kind of coming up with this on the fly, but we'll come up with something fun for that for sure.
Be careful, because that's where the chat goes sideways, especially if I was in it right now.
Exactly. So no,
there'd be lipstick, there'd be shirts. Exactly.
Little logins talk.
Always the logins talk. No, we'll have a good time. So they're getting ready here. Obviously the jackpot pick 5 pool is growing up to 55,000.
I'll be honest, Alex, I have no idea what that word is, but I bet Matt does.
Plenipotentiary. I don't know. I have a feeling I know what it means, but I'm not 100% sure. It's one of those where I'm trying to figure out the etymology of the word that I can kind of
at least pronounce
together. Well, it comes from those Japanese races. Sometimes you just got to plow through a word occasionally, and you just got to kind of have confidence in it. And you just go with it.
Full of power.
Trish, I love Trish's consistency here. She's just boxing all the bling horses, and I think that's fantastic. She likes the bling horses from the last race. Love it. Let's go. Brett going with the 1-2-5. And I think that's not bad. And definitely like that too. And the 5 certainly has some nice figures coming back on a short rest for the trainer. I do like the 6 quite a bit, so I'll probably end up going 2 using the 5-6 underneath as an exacta key. We'll see how they go, but they're making their way to the gate here for race number 3. And Colin, how are you going to ultimately end up betting this one?
So I'm just playing our 2-6 exacta box, and I bet the 6 to win in place.
There you go. And somewhere, I think it was Jimmy had the 6 all 6 pick 3. So if we're all in on the 6. Come on, Jimmy, we're rooting for you. Here to get that 6 home, because we got the 6 in the first home, we got the all in the second one, and now we're going to get that pick 3 actually pay halfway decent too. If we got the 6 home here, because that was like 5-1 over 5-2 over 3-1 right now, so that wouldn't be bad.
$29 currently.
Yeah. Oh, okay, 20. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
No, for 2
so
singles.
20 cents. 20 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. You
always have to remember that
a little bit.
You always have to remember that the payouts are for 20 cents on the tries. Obviously, you don't know that beforehand, but you got to pay attention when you move to some of these tracks, because you're so used to the same denominations at a lot of the tracks you're probably normally playing, that you got to pay attention to the 20-cent denomination, which is nice if you're trying to put together a pick 5 or a try. for a little bit less money.
Absolutely. Well, they are loading. They're starting to get them loaded in there for race number 1, it looks like. And so we will turn the volume up here to hear Kurt kind of call them into the gate and call the race. Here going 5 furlongs in race number 3. Shout out to all the people in the chat. Shout out to all the folks watching at home. We're going to be here with you every single week, folks. So this is going to be a lot of fun throughout the whole Assiniboia Downs meet. And we'll turn things over to Kurt here to kick things off in race number 3.
From the middle, Tough Enough to Start. The current 2-1 favorite, that's Kim's Texas Bling, goes in. 2 left to load. Touch of Love. Now just waiting on Secret Avenger. To the outside. The field is set. They're at the post.
Christ.
Oh, no.
Breaking through the front of the gates.
Oh, God.
That's number 6, Touch of Love.
Oh, no, he's going under the rail.
Yeah.
Slight delay.
So,
into the running of race number 3.
Oh, boy.
I will imagine the race. Yeah, they are going to delay this one. And I would imagine the 6 is going to be scratched.
Yeah, we're going to have to pick a new horse. Yeah.
Yeah. So the 6 is definitely going to be the late scratch here. And listen to one of the things, not to make this about Stable Duel instantly, but with the late scratch, you will be able to make an edit to your stable. So if you had the 6 in your stables, you will be able to make another selection with that. Not for this race, but for the upcoming races. I would imagine that 6 is going to be scratched now. For sure. And it does look like the horse is okay. I mean,
that's the most important thing, the jockey and absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like the horse was okay. And looks like the jockey is up and is kind of already off the track. So so that's promising.
That's the most important thing. Yeah,
it is, especially after everything we've had happen at Churchill Downs over the last month or so. That is something to certainly keep in mind. Tim bringing up that she's a turf horse. She just wanted to be on the grass on the infield.
Right. Yeah. See, exactly.
Yeah. They had her on the wrong surface. She goes, listen, you just got to get in on the turf. So,
that's the leader in the clubhouse for the VIP comment of the night so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I will say, I should start a show betting with Colin, because this is the race I said I have the most confidence in, the number 6 and the 2 in this one. And that is, of course, that is exactly what happens when you're playing along with me. So I cancel both my bets and we'll pass.
And I had the 6 in all 3 of my stables, so I know that's going to be something I have to edit now after this race goes off, and we'll have to find where I end up using this horse, or where I end up using the allocation of funds for the rest of the night. But certainly, like I said, hopefully everybody's okay. It certainly looks like jockey's up, moving off. That's fine. The horse was moving around okay as well. So it looked like everybody's okay, which, like I said, that's the most important thing from all of this. It's a scary moment, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is very scary. But that actually, you had mentioned before we started this race that I think you said 69% of Stable Duel players had this horse in their stable. Yeah. So this is going to be a lot of
the weight on his shoulders was just too much to bear. And someone told the horse right before the gate. He said, "I want out of here."
No, he was trying to get a head start for us. He was trying to help us out and get a head start, and just
I admire that.
Went a little too fast, but they backed all the horses out. Obviously, at the track, they've moved the post position numbers over, so the 7's going to move one spot over. They've already made that change, and looks like they're just circling the horses around a little bit, get everybody calmed down again. They're raking up a little. They're raking up the track a little bit in front of the gate, but they should be loading back in here shortly before race number 3. And it is interesting to obviously see how the odds played. The 5 now has really taken a ton of money and is now your 4 to 5 favorite. The 2
I still like our 2 at 5 to 2.
I still like the 2 as well at 5 to 2.
Value,
I don't. I don't love that. I just don't love that 4 or that 5, I should say. And maybe the 5 runs him off the feet and makes us look silly. But I just don't really see it with that horse. So I'm going to stick with my 2 who I liked in this race. And like I said, they're moving around a little bit. And it looked like all the other horses were responding okay to everything. It didn't look like anybody else got agitated in any way. Sometimes that's something to pay attention to. Obviously, sometimes I think our minds go to the instance a couple of years ago at Del Mar with Modern Games getting scratched because the horse next to Modern Games acted up and things like that. But it looks like everybody's, okay, calm, and just kind of circling around with their ponies, and will kind of make their way here to the gate shortly. But yeah, it looks like this late money is coming in on the 5 now with the scratch of the 6, and down at 4 to 5. Our 2's at 3 to 1, and the 1 has actually attracted a fair amount of money at 3 to 1 as well. So,
and for those people that have 1, 2, 5, it's just stable duels. That's even better because that's one less horse you have to technically.
Well, don't you know it?
Yeah, someone had 1, 2, 5 earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. No, if you're 1, 2, 5, I mean, you're right. It's the size of the field has gotten smaller.
Yeah.
And so now all but one horse is going to accumulate some amount of points depending on the margin of victory or defeat. So, Jimmy, unfortunately, Jimmy, you're single in this one scratched. And so, because it broke through the gate and they had to do a scratch. And I know how this feels, man. I've taken the dog out before and missed something. And so your ticket is probably now on the 5 and they're loading them up here. So let's revisit the feed, and I will get this kind of kick back to Kurt for the call of race number 3.
And just waiting on Secret Avenger. The field is set. They're at the post.
All right.
And they're off. From the inside, that's Canterbury Gold. Showing some speed in between horses on the outside. Secret Avenger. Hugging the rail. Lipstick Lady a half a length off of it. Stalking them in for it. Tough enough to start. That's a lot of bling. Also up close early, and the early trailer will be Kim's Texas Bling. 3 across the track. Lipstick Lady on the rail. In between horses, Canterbury Gold. 3 wide, Secret Avenger. That's a lot of bling. Is looking for some room to maneuver in between on the far outside. Tough enough to start. Getting motivated. Kim's Texas Bling with the lead. Lipstick Lady.
Come on,
Lady. Coming.
That's a lot of bling. Has clear running room. A 1/16 of a mile to go. That's a lot of bling. Is going to draw off to win by 3. Second best, Lipstick Lady. Third's going to go to Kim's Texas Bling, and 4th, the Canterbury Gold.
Well, there we go. We had the that's a lot of bling. The number 1 horse getting the job done there.
Yeah, someone, I think it was 1, 2, 5.
Yeah, 1, 2, 5 hit. Yeah, that's absolutely 1, 2, 5.
Someone had that gold.
Yep, absolutely. So great job, whoever had that. This was absolutely great. 1, 2, 5. And I thought the 2 might have had it, but started to get tired. Obviously, a lot of pace pressure up on the front end there early on in that one. And the 1 was able to capitalize coming from off the pace. The 5 never really fired.
No, terrible
I think,
start.
Didn't have a great start and just seemed a little sluggish. I know it was really getting pushed along around the far turn. And then eventually, like I said, got going a little bit there to hit 3rd, but certainly not what you would expect out of a 4 to 5 favorite in this sort of a spot. So goes 1, 2, 5, and congrats to whoever in the chat hit that one. I don't know if that was Charles or who hit that one, but whoever hit it, nice job hitting that 1, 2, 5. So great work. And Alex, the bling sandwich, absolutely, that's a lot of bling. Lipstick Lady, and then Kim's Texas Bling. So yeah, that was a lot of fun there in race number 3. And obviously now I have to go and scramble and find a new stable duel horse because my 6 scratched. So Colin, you can start maybe talking a little bit about, as you point out, we got the pick 4 coming up here. And we got to put together a little bit of a ticket. And so you and El Hombre kind of talked through this sequence already a little bit. So I'm interested. I feel like you've already done your homework on this. What are your thoughts on this sequence? Do you see a single in here? What are your thoughts?
See, that's how Matt's going to beat me in stable tonight, just so everyone knows. He wants to be the first one in to go find his replacements, wants me to talk through here. While he finds his value for all 3 of his stables.
Stop it.
Just so we all know, okay?
This horse is the over 17 maiden, but he's had the most starts. So I said, no.
Love it. Well, yeah, so me and El Hombre did do the $50,000 guaranteed pick 4 here at Assiniboia Downs, starting in race 4. They're going 5 furlongs, maiden claiming for $7,500. And I told you earlier when I said that the 3 Rye Bred was a horse that I was interested in my stable duel. Just because of the 20-1 price. But that wouldn't be a horse that I necessarily put on top here. But what I ended up doing was I gravitated towards the 4-year-olds in this race. And that would be the 1 and the 5. Those are kind of the 2 that I had my eye on. The 1 here, I thought the works that this horse has put up over the last month were as good as anybody else in this race. I thought the 5 has Whitehall aboard. I certainly highlighted that. And I thought that the last race speed figure was much better than what any other horse here has put up. And I just said that I like the fact that when you have these horses who are coming along off the layoffs, that I'm just playing a little bit of wanting the older horses as compared to the 3-year-olds. And whether that's valuable or credible, I can't tell you. I just kind of had it in my head that let's go with these horses that at least I know are going to be more mature, hopefully, than the 3-year-olds. And when I added that angle to my handicapping, it was hard for me to leave off the 3 in this leg as well. So at least on that ticket that we had put out, I went 1, 3, 5. And then I do believe on the video, me and El Hombre talked through it. I think I added the 7 as a defensive use, my only defensive use across this pick 4 on that video that I did. So I was a little bit deeper in this leg. And the reason I was a little bit deeper was because I decided, at least on that video, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I've asked you a few times and you're holding it close to your vest. The horse I singled in this pick 4 was the race 6, number 5, Into Bourbon for Wendy Anderson. This is one of those angles of the horse coming off of Synthetic, running that Golden Gate. Remember our trends that we talked about earlier? We'll bring that back up for those of you that weren't here earlier. But 9 of 14 horses have won with a start in 2023. This was prior to tonight, so this doesn't include tonight. But the last line there was one that Matt brought up, which is horses that have been shipping in from Oaklawn, Turf Paradise, and Golden Gate have been faring well. And I added the horses coming off Synthetic have been transferring really well to the Assiniboia Dirt as well.
And we just saw that in race number 2 as well. A Synthetic horse that fared very well and won easily. So, I
was nervous about the 7 in that race, Euro Silver Biz, and I was nervous about the 2 who had been running an allowance company at Assiniboia for really strong connections. Pruitt's been on fire here. So that was where my single was, at least on that ticket. But we're going to put this together. So we should probably start there, I would think. And Matt, what did you think about Into Bourbon? Was that a horse that you had mentioned you had a single? Was that the 1?
It wasn't the 1 because I like the 2 a little bit in there as well. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to condemn anyone for singling the 5. The 5 makes a lot of sense, I think. And I think is a horse that, like I said, I can see running very well. I think the 7 in there makes a little bit of sense as well. You mentioned being a little scared of that horse. I think that one makes sense. I actually went with a single in the previous race. I really like Star Happy. I like the 4 in race number 5. I think that horse is just a little bit better than everybody else in that particular race. I do think Del Vecchio is a nice horse, and House Limit's not a bad horse as well. But I just think the 4, you have the connections, and I just think this is a horse that, again, coming in from Turf Paradise, we talk about those shippers coming in, having a lot of success. This is a horse that's fresh, in terms of being active right now and running. So this horse checks a lot of boxes that we just showed up on the graphic. So I really like that 4 in, and that was kind of my single in that sequence. And I probably went a little skinnier in race 4, where I probably just went kind of 7 and 5, I think, in this one. And so that kind of kept the cost down a little bit more to spread in the 6th. And then the 7th, I'm interested, Sean, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Did you have any thoughts on the 7th race? Because that one felt pretty wide open to me.
That is an absolute wide open affair. I mean, I think you could literally, I could see someone having the all button if they, if they really thought, let me go back to my notes here to see what I got here.
Yeah. And Colin, because you already put the ticket together. So what is your thoughts on 7?
Yeah. Yeah. I like Miami Souvenirs at a bit.
We do too. Yeah.
At a bit of a price. Yeah. That was my value play there for sure. With the Shannon Bell. Again, another horse coming off the layoff. Decent works as put in. I like this one. I'm looking at Assiniboia. May 4th, May 13th, May 18th, May 24th.
Yeah.
The horse is solid. You know what I'm saying? And I do like that. The fact that when they're coming back, I don't like the spread out workouts. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can see that. This guy's been showing up every week. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a sound play and good and strong connections. And I think that's going to be a tough duo.
Yeah. Colin, what were your thoughts on that last race?
Yeah, so on the ticket me and the lumber did, I went 178, right? But hear me out as we're talking through this, because we're going to do this together. You guys are my support group. All right, so race 7, you had just talked about it, that a lot of them are coming off the layoff. They're all coming off the layoff. None of these horses have raced in 2023. So go back to that chart that I had talked about. The horses that haven't, the horses that have won, that have not raced in 2023 have been forwardly placed horses. Now, when I went through this race my first time, they were all forwardly placed horses, which is why I landed on Miami Souvenirs, because I said, well, this sets up like a nice, pace makes the race type of deal.
Sure.
So we're going to have a little bit of a, the yin meeting the yang on which angler you're going to go with, because you have some competing information there. Sure. Now in my head, I'm thinking, well, is the 7 really going to be that much better? I think the 7 at 5 to 1 is one that I certainly would want to put on my ticket. I think the 8 at 15 to 1 is definitely one that I don't want to pass on. I think it's going to get a nice,
especially with Whitehall's ability to close.
And Brown, the trainer, has really started off hot. I highlighted that one right away, and then the 1 Red Sparrow. Let me remember. I don't even remember why I was crazy, but so this horse actually got the plus on Jeff's charts. I had included the 1 on my ticket prior to seeing Jeff's charts, so that would be one that I'm still interested in. What I had circled here was the 5 victories, including 2 seconds in the first, at least at the end of last season. Probably would be the third of those 3. So I was 7-8-1, but I'm reconsidering with the fact that I had talked about horses coming off these layoffs haven't really closed very well. So I guess we'll see how that plays out.
That's always it's an interesting angle, and I know that horses that do have that running style, I think sometimes are a little troubling coming off of a layoff, of horses that are kind of deep closers and that are maybe pace dependent. Now, I think the pace sets up beautifully for the 7 in this particular race, so I think the setup's there. Sure. But I do wonder about whether or not, this is one that you're right. The running style can be a little troubling there. Although we've seen horses coming from off the pace at the very least, today, we just saw it in the last race with the number 1 horse coming from well off the pace to get the victory. And so, the track I think is playing fair in that regard. I like I think that makes some sense here. Just because we need a little bit more information. We got Cindy giving out a $12 ticket here. This is how she is playing that pick 4 sequence, and she is singling 2 horses in that sequence. She's singling the 2 in the next race, and she is singling the 5, Colin, in race number 7. And then in between, she's going 3, 4, 7, 8, and then closing out with 1, 4, 8. That's Cindy's $12 ticket, certainly an affordable ticket for a pick 4, $50,000 guaranteed pot. Like I said, that's a good ticket, Cindy. Good luck to you on that one. And yeah, definitely. I think, it's interesting to see a couple options here. I don't know, Colin, where are you in terms of your thoughts on whether or not anything Sean and I said change your mind, or kind of where are you at with this ticket construction right now?
Yeah.
I'm putting you in charge of the official ticket.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fine. I need to ask you one question before, so I need to challenge you on your single, and I only do that not in a bad way, but I want to make sure that you're confident in this single. Stay happy. I had talked about the 2 house limit, and you kind of vaguely said that you were tepid about that horse. Can I ask you kind of where you were thinking on this house limit, who won his last race, 8 lengths, and is basically always shows up, right? I mean, 19 for 37 in the money. Yep. You're going to get an honest effort from this horse, whether it's off the layoff or not. It's going to be inside speed. So just let me hear through why the 4 so heavily over the 2.
So it's less, I guess, that I really like the 4 that much more over the 2, because the 2 was my clear second choice in this race. So I very much so do like the 2. I at some point I wanted a single just to kind of get the price of the ticket down a little bit, and I wasn't quite as confident in the Into Bourbon horse as you were, and so I was a little bit more hazy on that race. And I was maybe just the slightest bit more, and I wasn't confident at all in the opening and closing legs. And so then I kind of by default kind of ended up on that race as one where I thought, okay, who am I really confident in to some extent? And then I'll be honest, one of the things that I will sometimes do when it comes to ticket construction, and people can admonish me for this if they want, but I like to crowdsource information. And one of the things that's important to point out is in Stable Duel, that number 4 horse is used in 50% of stables. And that is a very high percentage for a high-priced horse. And so when I see a high-priced horse being used by that high of a percentage of stables, that tells me a lot of people are confident in that horse. And that sometimes can just give me a little bit more confidence in a selection that I was going to end up on as my top pick no matter what. But that gives me a little bit more confidence and goes, oh, maybe there's a little bit more of a gap between that 4 and that 2 than I even might have saw in the tickets. So that's a little bit of where I was thinking.
Now, this is an interesting point that I was just thinking. Do we know is Carreno, because Carreno's on that 4? He was just the one that was thrown from the rail. Was he? Is he still riding? He's in this race with the 2, and they haven't quote changed him. So I guess he must be okay. But I'm just saying, if you're looking, I'm just saying, just because that was the Carreno Brown connection on that horse too. Exactly. That just threw his, so
it's certainly something to keep in mind for sure. So
it looked like he got up though, so that was good.
Yeah. It was up and off the track quickly, so that was good.
I think he's probably fine.
Yeah, and we got 8 minutes still left to post in race 4, which is going to start the pick 4 here.
So Sean, where were you on this race? The next one, race 4.
Race 4, yes, I am on the. Oh, you guys are gonna be shocked at this. I'm with Antonio Whitehall. This is shock. The spin official jockey of Spin Nation, Antonio Whitehall. I actually did like his horse, not just because he was on it. Again, I like the connections. Tiffany Husbands, a relative of Patrick and Christopher and that whole lovely Husbands family. Zach is the trainer. And also, I just like the workouts. I kind of look at like May 3rd, May 10th, May 16th, May 23rd, where I'm trying to find horses that are, quote, coming back. I want to see horses that are consistently working. You know what I'm saying? That are in a good frame of mind. And I thought just for a Stable Duel value, that was the horse. That being said, from a betting standpoint, you know what I'm saying? Like in terms of a Stable Duel, I thought he was the value. From a betting standpoint, I think the 6 is going to be very tough. Shelley Brown and Cumberbatch. That's a tough combination. 2 for 4 in the money last year. Pretty decent works coming back. So I was 1 set. I was 1. It was a 1, 5, and 6. but my top pick was the 6-5-1.
Okay.
This next race.
So yeah, I was on 5-7 in this race, and the 7 is the 6 and the 7 have gone back and forth the last couple of times out, and I actually pulled the video from the last time these two raced against each other. And, Colin, it goes to something you talked about, which is the 6 is going to flash more front end speed. So coming off the layoff, that actually has played into some of the track advantages that you were talking about. The 7 comes from off the pace a little bit. And this was the last time these two were out together in a maiden claimer, which was the final race that they ran in 2023. And you'll see the horse that is the 7 today is the 6 that day, really coming in and closing nicely. It was a runaway winner who just went gate to wire. But the 6, who's the 7 today, was the only horse that was making up any sort of ground late in that race and passed the tiring number 3. And who is the 6 today? I know that all these numbers are a little confusing, but that's one of the reasons why I was a little concerned about the 6 just from a conditioning standpoint, and seems to fade a little bit on the front end. So, a very good horse though. And both of them are, now running second time in this maiden claiming circuit. So, Colin, you've been crunching the numbers. What do we got, my friend?
I'm going to put it in the chat right now. This isn't official, but it's easiest for me to do it that way so you guys can say, I like it, I don't like it. And then we'll post it up, and then we want people to ask us where we're missing. This ticket's $32.
Yeah.
Okay, that's reasonable.
That's very reasonable. Yeah.
I can afford that.
Here it is. Yeah. So what do we think about this?
So 3, 5, 6, 7 over the 2, 4 over the 5, 7 over the 7, 8. I don't hate it.
Solid.
I don't hate it.
No, that's very solid. That's very solid, Colin.
I like that.
Now, the only concern I have is how wide open we thought the last race was, and we don't have as much coverage there. So I guess the curiosity for me would be, do we go where are we more confident, in this race coming up or in the last race? And I assume I know what you guys are going to say, but let's hear it. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I'm probably more confident in this race coming up than I am in the last race.
I would say so too.
Okay. Yeah, and we think it's the 5, 7.
I think 5, 7 make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep your 3, Colin, I love you with the 3, but I think it's the 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
And then maybe 5, 6, 7, and then throw the 1 into that last leg.
I like that. I'm a big fan.
And that way we keep the cost of the ticket the same, but we go 5, 6, 7, 2, 4, 5, 7, 1, 7, 8.
Yeah.
All right. 5, 6.
And by the way, if the 3 wins, you can make fun of me for like the next year. Okay. So I give you complete permission to do that. Not that you don't already make fun of me, and that's perfectly fine, but you even more so.
Right. And Colin, the beauty is the 6 was already scratched in the last race, so I can't even use him in my stable duel for my 6. So,
Right. I know. That's the only thing that is tough about stable duel is when $1,000 horse scratches, you have very limited options left in terms of, where you can go. And so, now we got Alex rooting for the 3 as well. So just to stick it to me.
Well, you know what I'm doing.
That's fine. So
we'll bet the 3 to cover the cost of the ticket. So
there you go. I like it.
The 3 is 14 to 1. It was a $36 ticket. So let's do $4 to win on the 3.
I threw in Whitehall in the last race.
Okay.
With the
we got Lawrence he's betting the 5 try box with the 3, 5, 6, 7 in this one. Nick's giving out his pick 4 ticket, which I like quite a bit. I think we can both hit on this actually is a 3, 5, 7, 4, 5, and then 1, 7, 10. So that's a nice skinny, low cost ticket to give out. I like that a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully we can both be winners, Nick, and that's always great. And then this is our official ticket structure here for the pick 4, $50,000 guaranteed. And we're going with the 5, 6, 7 here in the first leg, 2, 4 in the next leg, 5-7 in the third leg, and then 1-7-8 in the final leg.
Very affordable.
So a very affordable ticket. We'll see. I feel good that we'll be alive going into that last race. That last race might just be chaos, but we'll see. At least we can hopefully have our fingers crossed there going into that final race and be alive in that spot. So a lot of fun here. Let's keep the chat going. Let's everybody let us know how you're betting this particular race. We got the King Sports Picks is going exacta box 3-7 in this particular race. So good luck to you, sir, with that pick. And we're getting here ready to post time. We got a minute to post as we approach race number 4 at Assiniboia. And let's add that to the stream. We'll add the volume here in a little bit as we get closer to the time. And I see Cindy, by the way, we need to employ Cindy. Cindy is at the track giving us meteorological updates, and she's also keeping us up to date about the Heat Celtic score. So the Heat up 76-66 at the end of 3. That's where we are. So Colin, I'm sorry about this, but they're at home, 10 points, not an insurmountable lead. That's for sure.
It's going to be painful into this spring to lose the Bruins and the Celtics to lose Game 7 at home to a 8 seed, both of them, right?
at least we came back from from 3 and beat the Sixers yet again. So that's
killing me here, Smalls. I just absolutely killing me. Tim asked about what our thoughts are on the 4 in that last race. I don't know. I mean, I think that Colin, that's one of those speed horses that I think is just going to maybe get caught up and get and maybe lose ground late. I think, and that's maybe a little bit of what I was thinking. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, same thing. Go ahead, John.
No, go ahead. I thought exactly what you said. I thought he'd be kind of placed early, but I just didn't think he'd be one in the mix. And just when they came for the turn, people would be passing.
Yeah, the 4 certainly looks faster than the 5. When I saw that early speed teamed up right next to each other, I definitely wrote down the 4 is faster than the 5. So if you like, it's hard to like the 5 without liking the 4. But as I talked about that angle of just thinking that the pace was going to set up in this race for a closer, and there was only one. But if you followed along throughout the night, you saw us talking about that angle that for horses coming off these long layoffs, it has been much more advantageous to be that early speed as opposed to someone trying to pass tired horses late.
Absolutely. And we've seen the track play very fairly to this point. So again, we have the $50,000 guaranteed pick 4 pool here at Assiniboia. 0 minutes to post. They're making their way to the gate for race number 4. So definitely make sure to get in the action. I know several of you already put in your pick 4 tickets. We put ours in as well. So good luck to everyone. Kurt in this race is on the 5-7-6. So those are the 3 that we used in this particular race. And then Stretch is on the 6-7 and the 1 horse as well, who we did leave off our ticket. And so who is at 9-2 currently. But right now, the odds on favorite is that number 7 horse. So that's where your post time favorite likely is going to be coming from is big energy. And second choice is the number 6 horse. Right now, Anna Koshna, and then the number 5, Sassy's Storman, and then followed by the 1, Milan, Ohio. And so that is where they're going to be going in that race in terms of where the public is going. And Colin, your number 3 is at 14-1. So hopefully we can, if we bust out of the pick 4 in the first leg, hopefully it's because of the number 3 and we've made some money back as a result of it. So.
Like I said, that was a good decision on you guys to question the 3 on that pick 4, because remember what I said about that 3 was I thought it was a good stable duel play, and it's important. Important for the differentiator is that I think the 3 at 20-1 in stable duel is a horse that I'm hoping is not going to lose me points,
right?
As opposed to a horse that might knock us out early of a pick 4. Now, hopefully we're not playing this back in 3 minutes, going the 3 beat us, but.
Yeah,
I think it was probably smarter to look at that 1 in the last leg instead of 3 in this leg.
By the way, Rob S. just going single. I love it. 7, 4, 5, 10. My friend, good luck. That's awesome. If you hit that, congratulations. That's going to be great. Fantastic. And by the way, we're kind of largely on the same horses there. So, the 10 was one I definitely took a look at in that last race. We ended up not using that one, but the 7, 4, 5 all makes sense. As they get loaded into the gate here in race number 4, we will turn things over to Kurt at the track for the call.
Yes.
Just 2 left to load. Anakazana.
Look at that pick 4 pool up to 67,000.
Nice.
That's great.
And just waiting on the 2-1 favorite on the outside. Big energy.
Big energy.
$93,000. There's the
Look
That was
at
a big
that.
pickup.
wow. That's awesome.
We're moving the
almost-
needle. We are moving
Yeah.
the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd all those late votes come from?
Yeah, from Broward County, Florida.
One thing
There we
Tulsa
go.
does. Yeah.
And they're off.
Yeah.
Breaking a little tardy. It was
Look out,
Sassy
one.
Stormin, but still goes out and grabs the early lead. On her outside, Anakazana puts on some early
Okay.
pressure. Rye Bread up close early in third. On the outside in fourth, big energy with in between horses, Jackie's Thunder. Then it's the first for Milan, Ohio, and Going Gorgeous. The early
Ooh,
trailer.
that one had to check up.
Grabbing the lead still by a half
Yeah.
a length. That's Sassy Storming. Trying to fend off all challengers. Anakazana in between horses. Big energy. Coming with a big run, 3 wide and 4 wide. Going Gorgeous. They hit the head of the lane.
No,
Sassy
Bob's got it.
Stormin digs in and opens up by a length and a half. Anakazana will have to find more, as does big energy on the far outside. But Sassy Stormin stormed to the front and is going to get the
5,
win.
6, 7.
Anakazana in second.
Right-o.
Big energy finishing third and fourth. To Going Gorgeous.
There you go. Well, we are live through leg 1 of the pick
Love
4
it. Good job, guys.
with the 5, 6, 7. The 3 horses I feel like we should get bonus points for the 3 horses we like finish first, second, third.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that is the way that one played out. And that was, front end speed really ended up being
That
able to
really
put that one
did.
away. And, Colin, I thought that was interesting because there was a fair amount, the 6 applied a fair amount of pressure, and you thought the 7 loomed up on the outside was going to make a little bit of a run, but really flattened out. The 5
Yeah.
found plenty more and kept coming.
3 still running.
I wasn't going to bring it up. So,
I'm looking for him, but he might still be. He might have skipped the rail and went to the turf course like the.
he's
6
like
in the
that.
last
He's like
year.
that horse that got loose last week that ran the opposite way. He
Yes.
ran the wrong way. He's
Well,
run the opposite way on the track.
I wish they would stay with that head on because I don't know if you noticed the one when they broke.
Yeah, the one
when,
really broke. Yeah.
when Sharp left, and that's why I
Yes.
said look out because they
Yeah.
cut away, but you couldn't tell how much it affected that horse.
Yeah,
from,
yeah,
needing to get to the right to go the right way.
right.
Yeah. It was.
And that's our
Yeah,
best.
one-
That was our best option for that race, right? We went 5, 6, 7, and we got the 4-1 shot.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We
Unofficial.
have well, that could be the one.
It could be the one because the one also had to check up pretty bad.
Yeah, that was
going
the
around
one.
the
That could
turn,
be the
so I
one
wonder
on
if
the
there's-
inside got hit really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I don't. The 5 was fine. I
No,
don't think the 5.
He missed
Betting
the
with-
start and then
the
just
whole
went
time.
straight forward. Yeah.
Betting
Yeah.
with Colin. First leg of your
Betting
pick
with
four
Colin, yeah.
is an inquiry.
Yeah. Well, the beauty is we got the 6 and we got the 7, so we're gonna be fine. They're not gonna DQ all 3 of them. So I don't think
Matt's never been to the track with me.
yeah. But here's your
Look
point,
at the
Colin.
one.
Here's the
Look at the one.
that one really had to veer back in there. But I mean, there's not a lot to look at, I don't think, in there in terms of early on. I mean, maybe a
The
little
inside
bit.
horse
But,
and the outside. Who was it?
yeah, we'll have to take
5
a look at
comes
this
across
again.
the 4.
Let's see here. Let's see.
Yeah. So they break out. The 5 kind of breaks out a little bit and then kind of corrects. The 1 is, trying to go the opposite direction initially. But yeah, I think I hard time thinking the 5's not going to get this one.
Yeah, I don't know who.
So-
exactly. Ooh.
Unless it's the stewards at Naira who, just are throwing out DQs left and right that are ridiculous.
Okay.
Today.
Can I say something? I agree
please
with
do,
David
Sean,
Groening 100%. My boy Dylan is getting picked on.
Oh,
He's getting absolutely picked on.
Yep.
He's getting disqualified for things other people are not, you know, and that's not right, you know.
I hear you.
And I had Jose Ortiz in that race too. And I'm not saying he didn't, bump him, you know what I'm saying? But there's some other riders that are getting away with the same stuff, you know?
Yep.
Call it correct, you know?
Yep.
Well,
it looks like the inquiry sign is down.
Yay.
And the 5 is making his way to the winner's circle. So Colin betting with Matthew and Sean, it's going to be okay. We've got this 5 home at 4-1 to start out the pick 4 sequence. So good deal.
I need 2 of you to balance out my luck.
It's a 2-for-1 thing. So unfortunately, Rob S. and his single ticket is out after the first leg. But hey, wheel back in the pick 3, my friend. Do that. Nothing wrong with that. God knows how many times I've wheeled back around after getting knocked out on the first leg. So good deal there. 10:30 winner for Antonio Whitehall with Sassy's Stormin. And then the number 6 paying $3.10 to place, and big energy, the number 7 paying $2.10 to show. And apparently the number 3 did finish 5th. That was the word.
Hey,
that was the word in the chat. So not that bad, Colin. Not that bad.
20-1. That's okay.
Stable duel, you know.
Yeah, stable duel. That's all right.
Good job.
So, So now we are.
And I had the 5 in my stable duel. So.
Oh, excellent. Very good. Very good.
We're okay. We're alive.
We're alive. We're alive and kicking. That's good. So there we go. So front end speed kind of worked out okay there. Like I said, a little bit of pressure, but I thought the 5. Somebody in the comments mentioned the 5 also handled the turn very nicely and kind of kicked on coming for home. It was a beautiful turn and stretch there by Antonio Whitehall, who, Sean, you're absolutely right, is absolutely on fire right now at Assiniboia. I mean, he's up to probably close to 40% on the meet right now, which is just insane.
He's perennial, just so good.
He really is. He really is. So we have a lot going on here. So now we move to the second leg of the pick 5. So we're going to move to race number 5. And this one is one where I felt pretty good about the 4, Stay Happy, but we also included the 2 in our ticket, who I like quite a bit, who was my second choice. And I should say, I mentioned something earlier. I said that 50% of stables in Stable Duel are using the 4. Well, 40% of Stable Duel 40% of Stable Duel entries are using the 2 as well. Yeah. So the 2 and 4 overwhelmingly are kind of sucking all the air up in this next leg. Right. So hard to kind of, I think a lot of people are struggling to get past those 2. But didn't know if you guys saw any other value. I know from a Stable Duel standpoint, some people also like the 8 a little bit, golden-eyed. But curious where you guys are going in this one, just from a straight up vertical play, where you guys are going in race number 5.
Yeah, I was on the 2, like as my top pick, and not just because of Whitehall. He and Elton Dickey have always been I know he hasn't ridden for him much, but they've been always solid in the past. And again, I was looking at like the allowance. He was solid at the end of the year last year. Again, I looked at the workouts, solid pattern, just like that 5 in the last race. I like to look at the workout patterns, how they coming into this, in terms of. So I was let me see, I was 2, then 4 exactly, and then the 6. So that was 2, 4, 6.
Yep. Colin, what about you in this one?
Yeah, exact same. And the 6 would be the one I'm worried about taking us down. This is a horse that's shipping in off the synthetic, that angle that we've kind of been talking about and harking on a little bit through 2 days and through a third now. But I saw it pretty similarly to you guys. I had written down on my notes is, would house limit the number 2 be a single for me? So when I was asking if it was into bourbon for you or another horse, I was hoping you'd say it'd be into limit or house limit, and then we could single that one. But I think you could go either way between the 2 and the 4. From a Jeff's charting horse value, he's going to hate that we keep calling it Jeff's charting horse value instead of just charting horse value. We added a name to his company. But the house limit actually gets the K plus in this race, which doesn't come out often. And he actually had Stay Happy with a C. So he had Stay Happy 4th and house limit on top with the K plus. And then the Horse Racing Nation picks had house limit on top as well, but very close with Stay Happy. So all the metrics are kind of pointing to the same 2 that we saw when we handicapped this race.
Yeah, and it's funny. Part of the reason I was, stalling a little bit earlier is because my DRF has been acting up something fierce, and it's not really DRF's fault. I think it's my 8-year-old computer's fault. But one of the reasons I was a little concerned about the 2 is the distance.
Yeah,
the horse runs well going a little bit longer. Has never run 5 furlongs before.
Yeah.
And I talk about this in other things. 5 furlongs is a special distance to some extent. You got to be fast. And horses that are good at 6 and 7 are not always good at 5. And so I was a little worried about that. Whereas the 4 is 3 for 5 winning at this distance of 5 furlongs. I think that was, to me, that was the deciding factor between the 2. Was more so, if this race was at 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, I'm probably going on the 2 all day. I just think that the distance, I'm going to play the 4.
But I would argue though that in that scenario, if I am looking for a horse that's cutting back on that distance, I want a horse that's forwardly placed and is showing first place at the first call, second call, which is what this horse has done. So although I would agree with you from a distance standpoint, if there is a horse I'm going to take that's cutting back, it's one that I want that is forwardly placed, as opposed to a horse that's been running at 1 mile 7 furlongs and he's a closer. That would scare me much more off of a horse that I know at least is going to go, and it's a matter of how fast, and it's really just a matter of how fast, because so that he's going.
Yeah, so that was part of the issue. Was I agree with you that you don't want a closer from 7 furlongs now cutting back to 5 or something like that. Totally agreed. I also looked at the fractions. This horse's fractions just aren't quite as fast as the 4's fractions a lot of times when they're setting the pace up front. And so, again, it goes that it's just a different type of speed when you're talking about a 5 furlong race. And I don't know how quick twitch that 2 is to some extent. Is that 2 going to have the same front end speed it shows in a 6 and 7 furlong race going 5? I don't know. Maybe he does. And if he does, then he from a speed figure standpoint, those last 2 efforts are much the best from this field. So this horse absolutely has a huge effort in him and is very, very capable. Definitely like that we included him on our pick 4, because I'd feel foolish not including him. So I don't want this to sound like slander towards the 2 as much as just when I'm splitting the difference between these 2, kind of where I kind of came down on, why I landed on one over the other. But I think we saw this race pretty similarly in terms of the 2-4 being the top 2 choices. The number 3, I got to give a shout out to Mrs. Del Vecchio, who was my 7th grade teacher. I always liked that horse for that reason. And then I thought the 5 was maybe a little interesting. I thought that one was maybe a little interesting, and a horse that might provide a little bit of value from a stable duel standpoint, not so much from a standpoint of a win threat. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see here. But we're both on this 2-4 right now. So Tim, to your question, they are going to stretch things out. So over the next several weeks, you're going to start seeing races being run at 6 furlongs, then 7 furlongs, and then a mile, and they even go 1 mile and an eighth actually later in the meet for the Manitoba Derby. But they are still going to keep some 5 furlong sprints as well. So they're not going to get rid of those sprints, but they're going to continue to, like I said, stretch out some of these horses.
Woodbine does the same thing. For the first 2 weeks, it's all 5.5, 4.5, 5 furlong, 6 furlong sprints. And then eventually in the third week, they start expanding to the 7 mile, mile 16. So it's kind of a Canadian tradition to start slow with the sprinters, and then eventually the rooters take over.
Yep. I see a little bit of love for the 8 here in the chat, and some people are talking about that. I know Tim Hughes is on the 4-8. I saw somebody else in the 2-8, I think, as well. So, Colin, I think you had maybe briefly mentioned the 8 in this one as well, as being a horse that you were a little worried about potentially. But this is one who, does have a win at Assiniboia last year on August 17th. But one of the things that concerned me a little bit was those works did not look particularly strong. The 2 works leading in, I think we won a 106 flat 5 furlong work and a 104 and a 4, maybe 5 furlong work coming in. So a little bit more on the slower side, but that was maybe one of the reasons I was maybe a little less hesitant to embrace the 8 here, who I think could run underneath, but I don't necessarily see as a win threat. But I don't know about either of you if you see it maybe a little differently.
Let me see. Yeah.
The only interest that I kind of saw in the 8 was after I did my handicapping and I looked at the charts, and he was the second place horse on the charting horse value with a B beneath house limit. That was kind of the only where that makes you go back and go, oh, did I miss something? Because I didn't see this the first time. Right. And after going back, I still didn't move off of my 2 and the 4. I had mentioned the one that I was nervous first time through was actually the 6, this horse by the Factor. Coming back off the synthetic. So the 6 was the one that I was a little worried about. The 8 hopefully doesn't knock us out. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, Tim pointed out that the 8 actually has the second lowest pick 3 payout right now in terms of the will pays. So that's kind of interesting to see where that horse is going to end up in terms of the line. So interesting to note
if any of them are looking sleepy.
So we'll go ahead and pull this up here in a second. So we got 8 minutes to post there in the paddock. The 2 looks pretty solid. I just see here. So that's good. But we'll
the 8 definitely in solid form.
Yeah. So let's see. Kurt's got the 6-4-3 and Stretch has got the 4-2-7 in this one. So morning line, of course, is 4-3-2. So we will have to see. The 3 those floated up all the way to 15-1. So just completely dead on the board right now. Whereas the 4 is kind of staying about the same at 5-2. The 2 has become the new favorite at 2-1, and the 6 is there at 7-2 as third choice, with the 8 the fourth choice at 6-1.
And nobody has him other than Stretch in second, which is
right. Yeah, don't you know it? That's funny. Yeah, the favorite. Yeah, it doesn't have. Yeah, nobody else has him. So yeah, it's interesting. The Charles, you're right. The 8, the 3 just not getting a lot of respect. Brett here is singled on the 8. And so we will, Brett, good luck to you. That runs counter to good luck to us. But hey, we always wish everybody a good luck here on the live stream. And so, hopefully you're going to able to get your ticket home, even if that costs us our ticket, or, we'll try to figure out, maybe it's a dead heat. Let's root for that. And that way everybody can go home happy at the end of the day. So getting ready here, 7 minutes to post there for race number 5. And, I think this one is, like I said, it's interesting to see. I mean, we definitely have a couple more shippers coming in here. And again, the form that some of those shippers are coming in with, obviously the 4 coming in from Turf Paradise, which has racked up a couple of wins already. And, the synthetic, the all-weather to dirt angles are in play within this race as well. So I think there's a lot of different angles, and it's interesting to see, Colin. I'll be interested to look at how after 2 weeks some of these same strategies are playing out for us here at Assiniboia.
Yeah, we will hit the pavement and put the pen to paper on Wednesday night for y'all, so that next week we have those updated standings. Then next week our work's going to get 33% more 33% more work as they add Wednesday night racing as well. So we'll have an
right.
extra night of racing to pay attention to.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But we won't have to watch the Celtics in the finals as they are down
they're done.
22 with 4 minutes left. So
I'm sorry,
we're done.
fellas. I'm
We're
sorry.
done.
We can shut that off.
Yeah,
we can shut that off.
The
hell with it. So no need to see how this is going to finish. So Todd, good to see Todd in the chat. Todd, you were always with us
great
last
to see
week.
you, Todd.
Great to see you here. So he's going 2-all key box in this one. So he's all in on the 2 and hoping to catch obviously a little bit of a price underneath. And we're going 5 furlongs here in race number 5. And, not a lot of change on the board. Your 2 is still the favorite at 2-1, followed by the 4 at 5-2. I do think I saw somebody say the 4 is actually the lowest payout in the pick 3 will pays.
Now 5 furlongs. Now 5 furlongs is the VIP fan of the night.
There you go. Exactly. So I love it. So here we get to see Colin. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Any sleepy horses in this race or not?
Nope. They all look like they're on the top of their toes. I'll tell you, the three before each race always looks like he's always facing the wall in the stall in the paddock, which I find interesting. Obviously, my 3 in the last race finished 5th. The 3 in the race before that got off really slow. So if you're into conspiracy theories, I'm wondering what's up with the 3 post position.
What you said about
beautiful number 5.
Oh yeah, 5. Yeah, the 5 will take money because it's a gray. But I do wonder, and so is the 6 actually. And I always like that little white on the end of the tail. El Hombre would be upset with us for talking about that, but he's not here, so I don't care. But when you talk about the 3 facing like the stall, it made me think of my dog, who is 17 years old. She's a Jack Russell Terrier. She's blind, or pretty close to it. And there are times where I just find her staring at the wall as well, and I have to kind of clap and I go, "Carrie, we're over this way, sweetheart." And then she kind of turns around. Oh, okay. So so hopefully everything's all right with the 3 here, no matter what they're doing in terms of focus on the wall. But
they put some eucalyptus spray in the corner of the 3 stall. I think that's why they all keep turning around.
Oh, exactly. Interesting. They show pick 4 live money. I like that.
Yeah. So a ton of live money, obviously, to the 4, overwhelmingly. Really almost double. Yeah.
The 8, getting some money.
Yeah. So let's go 2.
Yeah. Well, 2-4. Yeah, absolutely. 2 would give a little bit better odds right now because the 2's floated back up. Your 4 is back down to your favorite.
Yeah, the 1 could create an all.
Yeah.
The 1 what?
1 could create an all at $64.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So,
I love that. I love that they show that. I don't think I've seen that before.
No, and I think that's great,
Yep.
It gives you what the public's
knocked out.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the truth. But I listen, I fell in love with Assiniboia last year.
Yeah.
I think they do things the right way. They try to engage fans the right way. They're reducing their takeout. They're sitting there and trying to do, like I said, the guaranteed pick 4 pool, obviously ended up being a lot more, almost double what the guarantee was, but it's great that they have that $50,000 guaranteed there. Ended up almost $100,000 in the pool. But, they're doing all the right things and just so much content. Again, if you've not gone on the player portal, cannot emphasize strongly enough, many free resources that you can use anytime on the player portal. So definitely make sure to go check that out as you continue to play Assiniboia throughout this year's meet. But
I could use without the split screen, and that's more of a complaint across racing when they split the screen up and they use the top half to show the leaders and the bottom half to show the whole field. Just give me the whole field, especially where these tracks haven't upgraded to the highest quality of either cameras or streams or whatever, and it's you're kind of just taken away from. Let me just see the whole field, and just something I'm used to. A lot of these racetracks have added in the drones and jockey cameras and all this stuff, and I think it's great in replays and watching back after and check this out. But it's one of those formulas that I think just keep it old school and show us the whole field.
See, I love the European and the Japanese tracking shots. Like when they actually have like a car on the infield that like is filming the race on the other. That looks so good, and we can't freaking figure this out in the United States. Nobody has figured out how to hook a camera up to a pickup truck yet. And you'd think in America you could get some duct tape and a Ford F-150 and kind of make this thing look a lot better. But no, we're putting jockey cam where it's bouncing up all over, down over the place. Right. We're splitting in between the head on and the side shot, the split shot. It's, the way we record horse racing is just abysmal when you watch how the rest of the world does it. And so, and what Japan does as well is they sit there. I like what they do where they actually pan through the whole field a lot of times. So, because they'll have those big 16 horse races and they'll pan through the whole field first, and then they go back to their leaders and you kind of keep it up there. I like that because they're very good at doing it quickly.
My other favorite thing is, what is it? 40% of inquiries are around the far turn. And what is the one place we do not have a correct camera? I mean, because the jockeys know there's no camera there that can show a correct angle of what's going on.
Don't you know it? Don't you know it? So no, that's where all the shenanigans can take place, is that far turn, because you're right. There's no head on.
There's no camera that can show it correctly. Exactly.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's where the running actually takes place. So, but Tim, the 8's not getting a lot of respect. It's not. I mean, it's kind of staying flat where it was, 8-1 on the morning line, 7-1 right now, come post. And we're obviously the horses are making their way to the starting gate. So we still have the 4 as the favorite here at 8-5, the 2 very close behind at 2-1. Those odds just moving a little bit right now, 9-5 for the 4, 2-5, 5-2 for the number 2 horse, followed by the 6 at 5-1. So, interesting to see how this board's playing out. But listen, Colin, you brought it up. The metrics point to the 2 and 4 as kind of the 2 inevitable choices here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely where I would go. I have a question for you guys. Do you guys ever play the Super High Five? Is that a bet that's in your arsenal?
No.
I've never played one of those in my life.
No.
I do in the harness.
Okay.
Sometimes. I'm not a pick 4. I'm not a huge, exotic player. Only at certain times will I try that, but it's not for big. You know what I'm saying? I generally know. Sometimes I will try it. You know what I'm saying? Like with if I think the favorite's solid, I'll try a couple underneath. You know what I'm saying? But very rarely will I play it. And that's more of a Canadian. It's very big up there. On both the Woodbine and Woodbine Mohawk. But I don't play it that much.
Yeah, it's hard enough picking first and second.
Oh yeah.
And a dollar bet that gets pretty expensive unless you're pretty confident in like if we were trying to play that here, you'd have to just decide on, I'd probably go 2-4 and Matt would probably go 4-2, and then then what do you do for the final 3 places? But if you're doing 4-2 and 2-4, you've now put a 9-5 and a 5-2 on top. So even if you do come through with that 3rd, 4th, and 5th place horse, you've probably boxed them in a way that your ticket's so expensive now that with those first 2 low odds, you're really, it's probably hard to make some money going that way.
Sure. Go ahead. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, the one thing I like about the High Five is when Pete Aiello announces it on the track. And he's like, and so concludes the Super High Five. And I'm just like, all right, thank you, Pete, for that shout out. That's like the only time I get excited about the Super High Five is when Pete announces it. So, I don't play it that much. That's just not a bet that I play. It's not a bet that's in my bag. So, and
notice they don't even have a pick 6. The only reason why Woodbine has a pick 6 is because Americans play it. Nobody in Canada plays pick 6s.
That's believable.
Their pool is always like 13,000.
Yep. So let's see. Listen, everybody drop in as they're getting here to load. I got to turn the volume on to get ready for Kurt, but let us know how you're betting this one. I know a lot of people are rooting for that 8. Obviously, we here are on the 2 and the 4 for our pick 4 ticket. So just a couple chalk eating weasels around here, but we like the top 2 in this one, and we'll see if they can get it home.
Now just waiting on Goldeneye to the outside. The field is set. They're at the post. And they're off.
Good start.
Del Vecchio and Stay Happy. These two are flashing their early speed and set to do some early battling. On the outside, the Boss Factor in third, with Monstradamus in between horses. Hugging the rail, House Limit makes it a trio behind the leaders. Settled behind them, only a length and a half is Golden Eyed, and 3 more back to go, starting Gold Special. The early trailer. Zipping along on the front end, Stay Happy on the outside, Del Vecchio on the inside as they hit the head of the lane. Stay Happy with the lead by a length and a half, Del Vecchio. Now falling back to second, a late rally from Monstradamus and House Limit, but this is all Stay Happy. Gonna win by 3.
Nice
Second
job,
best
Matt.
is Del Vecchio. Third's gonna go to House Limit, and fourth to Monstradamus.
All right.
Good
That's why we
job.
bring you along, Matt. That's why we bring you along. Well done.
Yeah, well, I try every once in a while. I'll get that 9 to 5 home every time. So it's it was not necessarily profitable, but I'm glad we included that one on our tickets for sure. And after dueling with Del Vecchio up on the front end, Stay Happy was able to pull off and draw from the field and win there. And I do think that too is. It goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I think that 2 is just going to get better the longer they run. I think at 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, that 2 is a lot more dangerous, and I wouldn't like the 4 nearly as much. So, that's another one. Keith and I were talking about this last week, that there are some of these horses that you want to kind of keep an eye on. And one of the things you can do in your Stable Duel app is you can follow horses.
Yes.
And the 2 is a perfect example of a horse I plan on following, because I want to see where that horse runs next time and what distance they run at. Because if he's running it longer than 5 furlongs, I'm using that horse next
6,
time
7, he's there. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Absolutely like that. So
very good.
Well,
I'm going to head out, guys.
All right,
Thank
Sean.
you so much for letting me join you. Let's get this home.
Man. Absolutely. You got to steer the first 2 legs. And by the way, if we don't get the last 2 legs, we know that it's because we need 2 people to balance out Colin, not just one person to balance out Colin. So that's hey, Sean, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. And thanks
Always
so much
a pleasure,
for
guys.
always keeping it positive.
Great job.
Yep, absolutely.
Talk
Have a
to you
good one.
soon.
Bye, Sean.
See you, bud.
All right. Well, that was awesome that Sean was able to join us for those races in the middle of the card. And that was a lot of fun. And we are halfway through the pick 4, Colin. Halfway through, my friend. So we got the 4 home there on the first leg. They went 22-2. They went 45-2. 56 flat base, or 58 flat, I should say, for the final 5/8. But that was a good one. That was a good one. Del Vecchio, I thought, hung on a lot better than I thought Del Vecchio was going to hang on. So that was good.
Yeah, he made it a little bit nervous there when they came around the turn and he was still hanging, and you just hope that Stay Happy pulled away. We will add to the total another horse that has raced in 2023 to get the victory. So Stay Happy and the number 6, the Boss Factor, were the only horses in this race to, run in 2023. And so that's just an angle that we're keeping our eye on. And then again, it comes through here with Stay Happy, who was running the Turf Paradise, right? I get that mixed
Turf
up.
Paradise. Yeah, that's another Turf Paradise winner. And now I think we're up to 3 for the meet so far.
And so Stay Happy with the jockey Carreno, who's been just really starting off great, and a trainer, Jared Brown, who came into today hitting at 30%. So all connections there, and you did the right thing in singling. I had the 4 and the 2 in my stable duel. So, that's okay. A first and a third. We'll get by with that.
Sure. Absolutely. No, that absolutely worked in stable duel. I think I had the 4 and the 5 who ended up finishing 4th, but the 5 was a really low price. I think only $750 on the morning line. So that's fine. I'll gladly take, the 5 finishing 4th. That's okay. In that sort of a situation, but, yeah, stay happy. Jorge Carreno, thrown from the horse earlier in the day, comes back, wins this race two races later. So I'm glad to see he's back and running well. And stay happy gets the win. Plays $470 to win. Del Vecchio pays $410 to place. I missed the show, or there it is. House Limit pays $3 to show. So. Yeah, I thought that was another race where there was kind of speed on the front end, a little bit like the last race, and then one of the horses draws off who was engaged in that early duel. So early speed again, kind of pretty critical. Although we've seen we've seen some horses coming from off the pace. So again, it's maybe race dependent. Don't want to overstate things this early in the meet in terms of biases or anything like that. Doesn't look like there's a bias in terms of inside outside though. It doesn't look like, I know sometimes people talk about the rail bias and things like that. It looks like you can kind of win from anywhere in the track. We've seen horses come down the middle of the track late to win. We've seen horses hug the rail and go to win. So I think the track seems to be playing pretty fairly.
Yeah, where'd the 8? Apparently I had the 8 in one of my stables. I don't remember adding the 8. But
I don't know where the 8 ended up. A lot of people like the 8, and the 8 did not end that. Yeah, the 8 didn't run that well.
1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, yeah, that might be a.
Yeah, that
might
be a
second to last.
That might be some negative points there for the 8.
So that hurts.
Yeah. So Tim asks, I think, an interesting question in the chat, which is, what do these horses do in the time that they're not racing? And I think that's a really good question. And I think it varies by horse, but a lot of them just get turned out, and they get turned out to pasture for, 5-6 months. A lot of times when you look at their workout patterns, they will have worked out in September the last time, and then they'll come back and typically work out. Some of them might start working out in late March. Most start working out in April again. So, start getting back into shape. But again, being up in Canada, the winter obviously can be rather cold. Some of them might ship down to barns in kind of warmer climates. But they're just taking it easy in the off season, which is great. I mean, what a life. You run for 18 weeks and then you just hang out.
Yeah, they do exactly what we do. They eat, they drink, they get fat, they do Christmas shopping. And then in the spring, they suddenly realize that they ate a lot more and put on a lot more weight than they should have, like myself, when it was supposed to be working out through the winter. And the horses that have been running all along are putting them in their place.
Yep, absolutely. And Rodney, glad to see you are also alive in the pick 4. We're obviously first 2 down, 2 more to go in the pick 4, but we got those first 2 legs done, and we got a 4-1 winner up top in the first leg. Then I think what did the 4 go off at here? 9-5. Was that the final odds on the 4 in that last race? I think. So we got 4-1 over 9-5. So we'll see. But hey, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much, everybody in the chat, for hanging out. And we got 44 people still watching on YouTube. We got dozens more watching on Twitter. Really appreciate it. Like I said, we're going to be here every single Monday night. We're going to be doing stable duel stuff ahead of time. We're going to be doing this sort of live race handicapping, the whole card. We're going to stay with you races 1 all the way through 7. Mainly because we got to see if this pick 4 is going to finally hit, but we're going to do it every single day and every single Monday night, I should say, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't subscribed already, press that subscribe button on YouTube, press that like button in the video. It really helps us out a lot, helps the folks at Assiniboia out a lot as well. So we now turn the page, and this was a race, Colin, that you were really high on. You really liked Into Bourbon. This was your when you and El Hombre did this video, this was kind of your single in this sequence. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about why you liked Into Bourbon so much in this next leg.
Yeah, so Into Bourbon was number 5, your 7-5 morning line favorite. The first thing that jumped off the paper for me was Wendy Anderson, who started off really well last week. The speed figures were certainly there. I also am inclined to play, at least early in this meet, horses that are on the front end showing early speed. This horse has the E8 designation on your Brisnet pace play, which I know a buddy of yours said that he only plays the E8, right? So
Josh Rodriguez, got to give a shout out to Cherry Drank on Twitter. Josh Rodriguez from On the Wrong Lead. If there is an E8 horse, he is playing it and he is hammering it. He loves his E8 horses. So, yeah.
But aside from that, your 3 inside horses are all P style. And then you have the 6 who's a P style as well. So it actually set up to not only be in E8, but the next horse is in E6. And what that means is that usually when you have that separation of 8 versus 6, there's a little bit of a bias that the early speed is going to do a lot better than if you had, say, 4 or 5 or 6 horses with that early speed designation, like we're going to see in the last leg of this race, which is why we talked about liking Miami Souvenirs. Aside from that, I had also talked about earlier in this show, horses that have been shipping in and running off of synthetic has been doing really well at Assiniboia Downs. So those were the 2 angles that I had really honed in on. And not only have horses been doing well, this trainer with 23 starts hit at 43% moving from horses from the all-weather to the dirt. So not only do you have that bias that's been happening as far as in Assiniboia Downs is concerned, you have a trainer that's really, really good at moving horses from the synthetic to the dirt. And then one more, if you look on the bottom of your past performances, you'll see a dark blue circle. I'm sorry, black circle, and that indicates a bullet workout. And this horse has been putting up bullet workouts. Now, granted, you have to pay attention to how many. So, 1 out of 89 is a lot more flattering than 1 out of 5. And this horse has done 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6. But last time, going 5 furlongs in 101 at Assiniboia Downs was 1 out of 14. So I think that the works there led me to think that not only is this horse working good, he's also been racing recently. And so when I had to kind of land on a single, this was the horse that I was hoping to get me through. Now, when I went on, as I said, I do my own handicapping first, and then I'll go in and look at the great tools that are available on the Assiniboia website. The 7 got a K+. Now, that didn't work out in the last race as House Limit had the K+.
Right.
And Horse Racing Nation's prime power numbers had the 5 into Bourbon as their top pick as well, with a 13-point spread over the next horse. So Horse Racing Nation gave me, confidence that I was on the right horse. They had put down the note that this horse has controlling early speed in a race that has a slow pace. Similar to exactly what I said as far as Brisnet being an E8, then you got this 7 at E6. The charting horse values had the K+ on this number 7. And when I went back and looked, I realized, okay, we have another Wendy Anderson horse here. So if you liked the Wendy Anderson on the 5, okay, now I got to kind of dig in on this 6. Now, July 27th, I'm sorry, on the 7. July 27th, this horse had a standout race in an allowance race of non-winners of 2 lifetime and won by 5 lengths at a little bit better than 5-1, and really drew away from that field. And that was an impressive race. And if that horse comes back and does that, then this race is probably going to be over, certainly from a speed figure standpoint. You're getting a jockey that has also been on fire. So now you've got connections. If there's another early speed horse in this race, it's this one. So you got the 5 and the 7 covered as far as your early speed is concerned. What I kind of shied away from was exactly what I said I liked about 5 was the workouts. And the last 3 workouts have been pretty slow. And, I'll learn these trainers, but the same trainer of the 5 is the same trainer as the 7. So you can't tell me, well, the trainer likes to work them slow when you got the 5 putting up bullets. And this horse is putting up over 105, 104, 106, actually. So kind of last place out of the workouts on those particular days. But we didn't ignore them. In our pick 4, we added the 5 and the 7. So you guys were more high on the 7 than I was. So hopefully you'll give some reasons as to maybe people will feel okay if they have the 7 on there.
Well, it's interesting. I think Sean was the one who was highest on the 7. I like the 7. Okay. The 2 was the one I was actually most worried about, but I was, but you know, at some
Blaming
point we got to
Sean
stop.
already, everybody.
We got to stop. No, no. But we got to stop spreading at some point. So,
Yeah.
but no, I like the 5 a lot here. I also was a little worried about the works on the 7. I think you can look back. I mean, people really like the 8 in the last race, for instance, and the 8 had also very poor works leading into this that last race and ran to his works the last couple of times out. And so, you know, the 7 could do the same thing. Now, you mentioned the 7 lightning in a bottle, that one race back in July of last year, but never backed it up. That was the concern that I had with that 7, is that 7 never backed it up and never got back to that same speed figure again. So now, that said, that horse has that race in him. We know that. So the horse can absolutely run back and do that. Like I said, I was a little bit more worried in the 2.
Yeah, I was
but
2 on my pick 4 I did with El Hombre. I'm suddenly thinking, why do we put the 7 on our ticket instead of the 2?
Yeah, I don't know why we did that either. That was I don't know. We might have gotten flustered there trying to put this together live. But yeah, no, we both I like the 2 a lot in this one. So I want to say, did I have the 2 up top in this? I still think I had the 5 up top, but I think my 2 is my second choice. And that was obviously with Antonio Whitehall, who's also been on fire, with Lise Pruitt, who's also been on fire as a trainer lately as well, and has had some nice works leading into this race also. But you know, I do think, listen, the 5 is currently your 3 to 5 favorite. So listen, the public is seeing this kind of the same way we are, in that, you know, the money is certainly going to the 5, you know, right now, with the 2 actually floating up to 8 to 1 right now. The 7 is also taking money at 3 to 1. And I know somebody pointed out that the 7 is actually the lowest payout and the favorite in the pick 3. I think Nick pointed that out in the chat. So, you know, there's a lot of dynamics going on here. You know, Tim asked about Wendy Anderson. You went over a bunch of her stats. I mean, she's been pretty good early on at this meet. And she also, HRN had been looking at how she was doing at getting horses ready off of a little bit of a layoff and things along those lines. And she scored really high, I know, in an HRN positive impact rating in that space. So, you know, she's a trainer who's been pretty profitable through the first couple of weeks here at Assiniboia. So she's certainly a good one to look at. You know, can the one, Tim asks whether or not the 1 can kind of close in for a win here. I don't see that happening, but you know, if there's a lot of pace, I mean, we talk about in this last race on the card, the 7th race, we kind of do think there's going to be a little bit of maybe too much pace, and we expect the closer to kind of come in. So, you know, could happen here. We have seen a horse win from off the pace earlier. I think that was race 2. A horse won from off the pace. But otherwise, we have seen most of it being on the front end speed. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not a similar dynamic plays out here.
The 1 is one of the horses that I'd probably pay attention to as far as further in the meet, because this horse had been coming off of quite a few layoffs going back to the beginning of the career, and the speed figures from a Brisnet standpoint were just stuck in the 30s and the 40s. Then this horse starts racing consistently, July, 2 in August, 2 in September, and 1 in October. And the speed figures went up very consistently, to the point where the last race of a 71, they have this as a par 77, puts this horse right in company. But the problem is that it took that horse all summer and most of the fall to kind of come up with that. And so now you have that layoff. But the workouts, the last 2 workouts were strong. So there's possibility as a 4-year-old, maybe the horse does come back as strong as he was in that last race. But I'd probably rather pass as opposed to the other 2 other 3 that we talked about, being the 2, 5, and 7.
Yeah. By the way, Colin, I have bad news. My DRF just actually finally loaded again, and the 2 was my top pick in this race.
Run to the windows.
Yeah, run to the windows, folks. No, the 2 were very close. I pointed out this horse was the number 2 was 10 for 18 in the money at Assiniboia, was 7 for 18 in the exacta. Little bit of a class drop running in these claiming levels last year, had been running an allowance company, then drops into claiming company and gets a win. The barn's obviously very hot. Nice workout on May 16th as well. So 3 for 4 in the money at the distance, although only one win at the distance, which should be pointed out. So this horse also seemed to thrive going a little bit longer later in the meet. So that's something else to kind of, I think, keep in mind. That horse could be, coming a little bit late, but may you have a similar dynamic to what we saw in the number 2 horse in the last race, who was kind of just coming a little bit late and couldn't quite get there. So, ultimately though, into Bourbon, 3 to 5, 7 to 5 morning line. My notes on this one, invading from Golden Gate, total speedball, makes a ton of sense here for sure. Hot barn. What's interesting is the jockey trainer haven't had a ton of success, that Wendy and Stevenson haven't really hooked up on a lot of winners. But it does feel like this one is, going to try to take him gate to wire. And certainly, if this horse runs back to a couple of other races that it's had in its past, it's definitely got races to run back to win. So makes a lot of sense. And then, you could argue perhaps her top jockey is sitting on the 7 in Carreno, and those two have often paired up nicely. And again, will be interesting to see how this horse does at the distance. But one of the reasons I like the 5 was because it's only going 5 furlongs. I think when this horse stretches out to 6, it has some problems. But at 5 furlongs, I like the 5 quite a bit. So does the public. Currently 4 to 5 on the board, with the 7 at 5 to 2 and the 2 at 7 to 1. And everyone else, I think, is in double digits. So.
And just taking a look ahead as we get close to post time on this race, but as you look ahead into the daily double pool, because I was curious where we covered.
Oh yeah.
If we get through this, it's $4 for a daily double, the 5 with the 4 in the next race. And that 4 is the misgiving, the one that we talked a little bit about as far as early speed and worrying that there was going to be a lot of early speed that wouldn't set up well for that horse. If you're looking at maybe making some money off of the rest of our pick 4 here, 5-1 is paying $79, 5-7 is paying $29, and 5-8 is paying $68. The 10 in the next race is taking money as well. Diane's Wish. That's
okay.
Don't know if I thought you had mentioned you like the 10 in the last.
The 10 was interesting in the last. Yeah, for sure. I took a look at the 10. I ultimately didn't end up on that one as one of my top 2 choices. But that was definitely, I think, marked as my 3rd choice in that race. But I thought, the 1 made a lot of sense there. And then the 7-8, I thought also made sense. And that's where we went in terms of our picks for that play. So,
and hopefully that sets up, hopefully those payouts give us a little glimpse of, the money in the pick 4 is definitely going to that 4 and the 10. So if we can just get through this leg here, I think we're going to have, a nice little exciting nightcap. And that's all I ask for is I'm the king of 4 out of 5, but just let it be the 5th race I lose.
Exactly. Lawrence is betting the 7. Hey, Lawrence, we're with you on that. If the 7 hits, we're happy with that. Jimmy Johnson pointing out that Wendy is 43% with favorites. So when she's got a good one, that usually works out pretty well for her, because favorites usually only win as a standalone about 30 to 35% of the time. So she's a kind of a plus trainer in that regard when she's got a favorite in there. So, some good numbers in here. Let us know in the chat where you're going in this race. Where are you going in race number 6? How are you betting this one? Colin and I are all over the 5 and 7. I'm probably going to do a 5 over 2-7 exact key. And that's going to be my bet for this particular race. But would love to hear how you all plan on playing this one, or if you're playing a daily double to close out. Excited to hear about how everybody else is playing this one here in the chat. And by the way, we got to give a shout out, Colin. 54 people. It's 11:07 at night. We got 54 people on YouTube. I was just checking. We got a few dozen watching us on Twitter as well as we speak. Great engagement. Cannot thank you all enough. Everybody's tuned out of the Celtics game and the Heat game. They're coming over to watch the Assiniboia Downs on Monday night. And this is going to be a lot of fun as we have 2 more races to close out the evening. And we're going to start to get close to post time for this race, and they are walking them towards the gate here. And Kurt and Stretch, I think maybe for the first time tonight, are in complete agreement that they like the number 5 horse as their top pick. And interestingly, they both like the number 8 horse, who we have not really touched on in this particular race. So interested, Colin, was the 8 a horse you took a look at all? And if so, kind of what were your thoughts? Currently 14-1 on the board, so not getting a lot of respect there. But didn't know if you had used the 8 or took a look at that one at all.
I take a look at them all. When I handicapped this on Thursday, and I didn't actually write any notes on the 8. So when in my Thursday state of mind, I looked and I passed quickly.
Yeah.
At 14-1 probably lets you know that the crowd is doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, my notes here was 0 for 6 at the distance, never even hit the board going 5 furlongs, and has never run at Assiniboia, and is coming out of Delta Downs and Phoner, and I wasn't necessarily enthralled with the form. Additionally, the trainer, Jerry Gorno, is a good trainer. I know he's had success last year, but he is on the schneid. He is currently 0 for 10 at Assiniboia Downs and 0 for 31 this year. So it just seems like ice cold connections. And you hear this from horse people: when a barn goes cold, it goes really cold. And it just feels like, is this the horse that maybe turn things around? Maybe, but I don't really see it with this 8 based upon a lack of past success at this particular distance.
And I will add, though, that this horse did run in 2023, and only 2 horses in this race have run in 2023 so far, and that's the 5 and the 8.
Yep. And the 5 is your even money favorite. Your 7, who's also in the Wendy Anderson barn, is your second choice at 5-2. And the 2 now is ticked down just a little bit to 9-2. So that is where we're at here as we start getting them lined up for the 6th race. And we're
cheering for the 7.
Cheering for, Colin, we'll take the 5 too. Let's not get greedy. We'll take the 5 or the 7. Just let's get this home so we can at least have something to cheer for going into the last race for our pick 4 ticket. But it looks like they've loaded in the first half of this field. And we will turn things over to Kurt here as they close out getting them loaded up here for race number 6.
Next up, the 6-5 favorite, Into Bourbon, walks up and in.
I mean, what's this camera guy doing?
It's just stay where you are, buddy.
North Fork now walks in.
Don't.
Wind, maybe?
Hero Silver Biz steps up. And in.
All right.
2 left to load.
Good luck, everybody.
Just a buster.
Yep, absolutely.
And just waiting on Peb to the far outside.
I did like that horse's name, Peb. I just thought it was cute.
The field is set. They're at the post. And they're off.
A little bumping, but
Euro Silver Biz shows some good early speed. The stablemate Into Bourbon will now take over as the early leader. Just a buster, 3 wide. Impressive Sense settled back on the rail in 4th. Then it's North Fork back in 5th. A length and a half. Sitting on the outside is going to be Peb. On the rail, Shinborough, and your 2 early trailers are Bear Me a Moment and Speedy Daredevil. On the lead,
comes this 8.
Into Bourbon, and Just a Buster to the outside. The rail is opened up for Impressive Sense. Just a Buster now takes over as the leader. Fighting back Into Bourbon. Impressive Sense on the inside. Impressive Sense goes on by and is going to get the lead. Second best, Just a Buster. Third's going to go to North Fork. And 4th, Into Bourbon.
Wake up, Sean.
Yeah. That was rough. But life goes on. Life goes on, Colin. So listen, the speedballs kind of hooked up on the front end, and ultimately, the 2 was able to kind of come on by. And the 8, the 8 ran a lot better than I thought the 8 was going to run. That's for sure. Who knew the Phoner and Delta Downs form was going to hold up so well. But, that goes to what, Colin, you just said right before it went off, which was this was one of the horses that actually had run in 2023 and was a little bit more, maybe fit to run in that regard. So, got the win there for, or got the second place, I should say. Obviously, the win goes to Impressive Sense, who sadly was my top choice. I'm not happy about that because that knocks us out of the pick four.
Pick 4.
But that's where we are. That's where
You're
we
killing
are.
me, Smalls.
I hear you. I hear you. I know. We should have been on that too. And the 7 didn't finish anywhere, which I didn't think the 7, but whatever. So yeah, and listen, that barn just continues to heat up. Lise Pruitt, Antonio Whitehall just continues to and Sean just rubbing it in. Yeah, Sean
we're
rubbing it in.
blaming you for adding that 7.
You can only have to contain him. So absolutely. It's interesting, Paul. You're right. I mean, you could tell early on. The last couple of races, there was a little bit of pace pressure, but this was a lot more pace pressure on the 5, faced from both the 7 and the 8 early on. The 8 would being kind of the far outside, but you're right. And it was interesting that the 2 Wendy Anderson horses went at each other. When have you ever seen that in NYRA? That 2 horses trained by the same person decide to go at each other and try to, create a speed duel? Probably not. You usually see the opposite. But that was... one of those things where, the 5, and the 5 was something I mentioned this when we were talking before the race. At 5 furlongs, I had more confidence in the 5. I didn't have much confidence in the 5 at 6 or 7 because that horse tends to fade going longer. I thought the 5, they could hold on. Obviously, it wasn't the case. Antonio Whitehall, Impressive Sense, $9 winner up top. Just a Busta gets $8 to place, and North Fork, for Siobhan Bell, gets $7.42 show, with Into Bourbon finishing 4th. So Tim, I agree. Wendy does need to talk to jockeys. And so, and Nick, I didn't think the 7 was supposed to go that fast either, but indeed the 7 did go that fast. So that's one of those things. But Rodney is still alive. Listen, he's alive in the pick 3 at least. He's the 1-7-10. So if we can't win, I hope at least all of you out there can win on this one. So Rodney, you're alive to a couple of horses that we definitely like in the 1 and 7. And Tim, you're absolutely right that Lise Pruitt is just on fire. I mean, it started last Tuesday and it's carried over to today. He is absolutely on fire right now. So as a trainer, you just want to maybe flat bet everything that he is touching right now. And Tim is also still alive to the 1-4-7-8. In the pick 4, and those were 3. The 1, 7, and 8 were the 3 horses we were potentially live to in that last leg that we really liked as well. So definitely good luck to Tim there. Excited for that, and rooted for everybody who's still alive in any of those particular pick sequences. But Colin, we are not one of those alive in the pick sequence, but doesn't mean we can't win in the last race. And so that's the beauty of horse racing, is they come right back at you and you have another opportunity to win here in about 18 minutes. So we got the last race here, who, when Sean was on earlier, we said it felt wide open. It does feel wide open. And, where's your top pick? Because we talked about how we were approaching this from a pick 4 standpoint, but where's your top? I think you and I both like the 7 quite a bit in this race from a standpoint of setting up for the speed potentially.
Yeah, I just got to run through the pick 4 will pays first.
Please do. That'd be great.
Overhead the 1-4-7-8. So the 1 is paying over $3,000. The 7 is paying $1,400. The 8 is paying $1,000, almost $1,100. So that's the 1-7-8. Was there someone else that? I
think there was a 4 in there somewhere as well.
Tim Hughes had. The 4. The 4 is the shortest on the board. As we said, it would be when we looked at that daily double. Yeah. It's paying $375, which is still a healthy amount. So we had Our ticket was $36. If you're in that range, then you're looking at a pretty nice payout, especially if you can get this one home.
Yeah. And then Rodney is alive in the pick 3, and he's alive to the 1-7-10 in the pick 3.
So $100, $35, and $8 for the 10. So you do not want the 10.
Yeah, no. So he's going 1-7 for sure here. But yeah, Nick, the pick 4 is absolutely paying. And it's a great payout if you're alive to it. And congrats if you are. And you probably didn't have to build that big of a ticket to be able to do it because we had a couple of, I think, logical choices in the first 2 legs. I think the 2 was probably, kind of the next horse in potentially. Tim says his ticket was $24. Makes a lot of sense there. And this last race you could spread a little bit. So, it definitely is a lot of different ones here. And Trish needs the 2 and the 6 in this last race to do well. That might be for Stable Duel. I don't know if Trish is alive to the pick 4 or just talking from a Stable Duel perspective, but looking at that as well. And Stable Duel, I'm looking, has not updated race 5 yet, so that's still pending. And race 6 obviously is still pending as it just finished. But now I need to see. Just to add salt to the wound, I used the 2 in my Stable Duel. I just realized. So there's that.
Which means that Matt DeSantis is going to cash in Stable Duel again, and we're going to do a team ticket that I lose on, and Matt's going to text the group in like 10 minutes and be like, "Hey, I won Stable Duel again," and Colin's going to be crying in the corner.
No, I'm sitting in third.
Sean's getting a text from me at 2 a.m. He's going to go, "Why the hell did you add that 7 to the ticket, Sean?"
No, we are. So it is. I may finish up well. So this is what happened. So I'm sitting in 23rd right now. And by the way, if you're playing Stable Duel, drop in the chat where you're sitting right now. They've only scored 4 of the races. The 5th race is still pending. But let us know. But I'll be honest, that scratch of the 6 in race 3 really kind of screwed up the way my stable was structured, because I didn't like any $1,000 horses, because I only had like $1,200 left. And so I had to use a horse that was $1,000 or less. And I had already used all the horses I liked that were $1,000 or less. So I didn't really have anybody left. And so I ended up using 3 horses in this last race. I used the 1-7-8 in the last race. So how I end up doing is going to be largely dependent on how those 3 horses end up running in the last race. So, that's, kind of where we are. And I didn't set it up that way, but the scratch of that 6 kind of forced my hand a little bit, because the 1 was the horse that I subbed in. And I thought, okay, I kind of like the 1 enough to use in the spot. And, out of all the other options that I had, I thought the 1 made the most sense. So, we shall see. But, but I
subbed in the 1 in one of my stables, and the other one I subbed in the 4 in race 4, who got me -8 points. So we were doing okay, but that's 7 there. I had in one of my stables, so that one's going to hurt.
Yeah, but you're sitting in 26. That's not bad, and you had Stay Happy 19. As well. No, you're sitting there. You're doing okay. And so you got the 1-7-8 in that last one too. So. Yeah, so we'll see, how we end up doing here in Stable Duel. I see, Alex Hardspun 77, definitely, doing well. 8th place in Stable Duel, top 12 payout. So right now in the money, gotta like that. Good luck to you the rest of the way. And Trish asks how I'm so good at Stable Duel or Steeplechase on Stable Duel. Largely very simple angles of just like basically using Carrie Bryan and Leslie Young horses. And that's pretty much so it. And if you just stick to using those 2, you're going to be fine. So that's kind of my angle. And then I do read like some Steeplechase articles before we do it. I don't look at the PPs a ton in Steeplechase, just because they don't. I look at the Stable Duel app more than I look at the PPs, just because that gives me kind of a rough sense, just because in Steeplechase there's so much variation from race to race. But I'll read some Stable Duel or some Steeplechase articles as well from experts and see kind of where there's consensus or where there's disagreement and things like that to get me some sense. So I do a little bit of research on the side, but that's a little bit of there. But yeah, I think that we're done with the steeplechase season for now, but we're going to come back in the Stable Duel, and there's going to be a steeplechase season in the fall. And the other exciting thing for Stable Duel, and Colin, I don't know about you, I am not a big harness racing fan. I don't play harness racing that much, but they are starting harness racing in Stable Duel, where they are going to start having some contests up at the Meadowlands. They're going to start having joint contests where like half the card is harness, half the card is thoroughbreds. So there's a lot of cool stuff there as well. So I don't know, do you play harness at all, or do you kind of follow that circuit much or not?
No, harness racing is when me and my buddy are drunk at Saratoga late night and we throw it on, and we always bet the 1, 2, 3 exacta box because it always seems to come 1, 2, 3 in some sort of fashion. And if I'm going to actually be playing harness racing, I'd reach out to Sean Patrick Nolan because that's he's the person I know that is good at that. But I literally I don't get it, and it's not for me.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan, although, you know, I'll inevitably end up playing it in the Stable Duel and probably picking Sean's mind a lot and Sean's brain. No, I don't know about winning. No, Sean's going to win because Sean knows more than anything about that. And I'll tell you who else really knows a lot about it is Ed DeRosa from Horse Racing Nation. Ed knows a ton about harness racing, and he really likes it and loves it a lot. So, you know, there's some good people out there to follow for that sort of stuff. Trish, to answer your question, yes, as always, they are going over to Stable Duel. They are going over to Royal Ascot. I actually would not be surprised, and I can't say anything official yet, but I would not be surprised if you see more European racing on Stable Duel coming up over the summer and into the fall potentially. But they are going to have those Royal Ascot contests. Those are always a blast. And they're actually, in a bizarre way, a lot like Assiniboia, in that there's usually a very limited number of races on a particular day. It's not like Keeneland, you know, for the Bluegrass Day where there's 14 races and you're kind of overwhelmed by horses. You can be overwhelmed by horses at a Royal Ascot because there's 20 of them in a field, but there's only 6 or 7 races, so you have fewer races to choose from. So you end up doubling up and tripling up in some races. And again, there's a better chance of hitting a winner and things like that. So, you know, it's always a lot of fun, and we'll have a lot of Royal Ascot coverage here on Trust the Profits. But listen, let's talk about this last race. We got, how much? We got 8 minutes to post in the last race. The 10 is your favorite right now at 8-5, with the 4 having floated up to 7-2. And the 7 that we like is at 8-1, kind of a little dead on the board. And the 8 is actually has been bet down a little bit from 15-1 morning line down to 8-1. And then the 9's attracted a little bit of money at 7-1 as well. So interesting to see kind of the money is floating in obviously on that 10 right now as they get ready for the final race here at Assiniboia. And again, we're gonna be every Monday night. Come on back here every Monday night. We are 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to get it started, and we're going to stay with you the whole night long. So excited for that. Colin, thoughts on either the paddock, what's going on in there? I'll bring that up here on the feed so you can see who's sleepy. It's getting late, so who's sleepy in the paddock and who's not. There's the 10 looking like $1 million, but interest in your thoughts.
10 looks sleepy. Head down, walk a little slow.
Yeah.
So like we had talked about before, a lot of early speed, at least on paper in this race. Mm-hmm. Everyone that we had everybody except the 7 really has an E or an EP Brisnet pace figure, and the 4 and the 5 are the ones that are both E8s. And usually when I see 2 horses at E8s, even had a couple EP6s, I'm thinking that there's going to be a speed duel. Mm-hmm. Which we saw in the last race between the 5 and the 7. It's funny, we actually talked about the 5 and the 7 being the only 2 early. So we thought that was advantageous, especially being out of the same barn. And then they went at each other, setting it up for the horse that came off the pace, or at least was designated as a P2. And I will say, if my memory serves me correctly, that would be the first horse that hasn't raced in 2023 that didn't have an E or an EP title or pace configuration to
Yeah.
win a race.
Yeah.
So we'll go back and do the work on that. But that would be the what that Impressive Spirit was, who knocked us out because of Sean Patrick Nolan. So I ended up landing on the 8 for a price and the 7 because of coming from off the pace. And that actually sets up nicely because we talked earlier about being concerned that maybe horses that hadn't run in 2023 coming from off the pace was not an advantage that we want. But the last race maybe breaks that for us. And I ended up 7-8. And then we talked about this one who I did throw in my stable duel after the scratch of that 6 in the second or third race. So I am 1-7-8.
Yeah, so I the 7 was my top selection as well. For everything you said, I thought it made a ton of sense, and just thought this horse, started, being able to do what this horse was kind of best at. And the 4 who's floated up was a horse that certainly was the morning line favorite, is now kind of 3-2, 1-2 $5,000 claimers that were state restricted during the meet. Mostly does run honest, but is not really going to overwhelm you with too much. But Miami Souvenirs, what I liked about this horse was this horse. I liked this horse a lot last year. And again, this is the benefit of kind of coming back and watching these races again. This is a horse that was running at Gulfstream Park last year and kind of running up against the wall and just not doing well. And it was attracting decent jockeys like Chantel and Paco. And so, that means something usually, even though if they're in lower level races. And then comes up to Assiniboia and runs second in a maiden special weight, and then goes next time out and runs against older maiden special weights and breaks her maiden there. And, then kind of has a little bit of a blip, but then gets kind of changes barns and goes to Curtis Maxwell and has done really well since then, and kind of has 2 seconds and a third. I thought the race shape set up really well for this horse. I do think maybe going a little longer is beneficial, but I do think, again, the pace in this race is going to allow for this horse to get the setup that maybe an extra furlong would normally do. So I'm hopeful for that. As for the 8, HD's Hope, this horse, because I keep all my notes in DRF, I'm able to go back and look at the notes I had on this horse last year. I love this horse last year too, for a lot of the same reasons. This horse just always provides really good value. And while the speed figures are hardly overwhelming, none of them are in this field. This is a barn that is running pretty well right now. Shelley Brown, hitting the board regularly, has a couple of winners already on the meet. Antonio Whitehall, we've been talking about all day, really good, has been running really, really well. This is a horse that's run up against very good competition, run against Mia Bear in a maiden special weight, run up against horses like Dot Dash, I should say, last year was pretty good. And I just think there's nice value here. And this horse just runs consistent, especially since it's gone to Shelley's barn. First, a second, and a third the last 3 times out at 15-1 on the morning line just made a ton of sense, and ended up the year on a win. Nice enough works getting ready for the year. Going back, what I liked about the works for HD's Hope was not necessarily the speed, but the amount. This is a horse that has had 6 works leading up to this first race, and I like that, especially because, Colin, I'm sure you've noticed this. Some of these horses, you'll see 3 works and then they go into the first race. I like the fact this horse has gotten 6 works. This horse should have good foundation, good fitness, and should be ready to go for the first race of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, they popped up there that Kurt and Stretch had made changes to their original picks, and they were all in on this 9.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Kurt had 10 to win, 20 to place on the 9. And Stretch had 9 all 7, 9-7 all, I believe, on his trifecta bet. So it was kind of funny. Their graphic popped up that they're changing their bet, and then it went 9 right across the board. So interesting that the 9 is also taking some money. A little bit was 6-1 morning line, is now 4-1. I kind of didn't really see it as I went through it once, but now I'm kind of going back and looking to see what I missed. Did you have the 9 at all?
I didn't have the 9. I mean, part of me is I don't know what to do with that Hastings form. Sometimes coming in from other tracks in Canada, I'm just never really sure kind of how good it is or kind of how transferable it is. This is another one that feels like maybe a horse that's better later in the season, although the horse has run decent off the bench before, but I didn't see it. Ran a real poor race last time out, which was granted November of last year. Again, has 5 works leading up to this year, and they're fine. A bunch of 4 furlong works, a couple of 3 furlongs. I mean, nothing that kind of is blazing or that a bullet, but not bad. Has run some decent races in the middle of last season at 6.5 furlongs. Is 1 for 4 winning at this particular distance. I didn't really see it as a win threat. I thought maybe the horse runs a little bit underneath, but we'll see. I mean, clearly the public's going to that 9 a little bit, and is actually one of the lower will pays for this pick 4.
Pick 4, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll have to see. But I like you. I didn't really see it here. But I did think, the 10 we haven't really talked about, Diane's Wish. This is a horse that just broke its maiden last time out. And you do at 2 years old now as a 3-year-old, you figure there's got to be some maturation there between 2 and 3. The horse probably grew, got better, got stronger, got more fit. Certainly ran pretty well at a maiden special weight level, then got dropped down to kind of their highest level maiden claimer and won. Actually beat a horse we saw earlier in the night, Big Energy, who finished 4th. But is now coming back in this spot. Outside post position should give Chevan Chow some options about where they want to slot this horse in with all the speed. So, maybe, but I'm not a huge fan of like maiden winner going on a 9-month break and then coming back and beating winners, other winners for the first time. So that's why I don't love the 10 there necessarily either, which is why I was not kind of advocating that we include the 10 on our ticket. James was saying that the 8 and 10 look best in the paddock. So we got James's paddock picks, which I appreciate because, it's hard for us to do paddock picks, but James is saying the 8 and 10. So, and he says 5 look the worst. And what I'll say about that is, and I've told the story a couple times, I've never seen a horse look more bedraggled before a graded stakes race than Gambling Girl did before the Gazelle up in New York. And then she ran her eyeballs out and finished 2nd that day. And she just doesn't look particularly good in the paddock, particularly compared to a bunch of Chad Brown fillies. But she can run, so we'll see if that 5 can run at all. But certainly on the board right now, 30-1.
And if you're playing a little bit of the name game, obviously the Celtics just lost to the Miami Heat, so you've got the number 7 Miami Souvenirs. Oh, I saw somebody in the chat saying, I think it was our friend overseas, who said with the Heat winning, he's going to throw some money on the 7 Miami Souvenirs. So not bad. I see our buddy Trusty's back. Trusty, you're giving out all these winning what you did in Twitter world. Let's see. Can you give us a winner here in the last at Assiniboia so we can get our bailout race? Because we got knocked out in the 3rd leg of the pick 4, which we are blaming Sean Patrick Nolan on. Here he goes. And on time, I'll bet win in place on the 5.
Okay.
Speed and for similar class was 9-2 last year. The 8 horse for course and has Whitehall, and the 7 is logical but has to close.
Yep. So he's got the 5 who James is saying did not look particularly good in the paddock. So Trusty is going against the paddock pick of James here. A little bit of controversy in the last race at Assiniboia. But listen, we got Imopa. Oh.
Always what's up?
Shows up. And so we got the try 8 over the 3 through 610, 3 through 610. I can dig it. And so, so here we go. They're starting to load them in. I did see a comment earlier from King Sports Picks about whether or not Stable Duel has any promo codes. They do not, that I know of. I'll ask Bree if they have any, but they do have a lot of free contests throughout the week, which is kind of the equivalent of a promo code in some ways. Like if you enter those free contests and win, you essentially end up winning free money. So check out the free contests. That's always a good way to start winning. Honestly, that's how my dad started winning. He only played free contests. He ended up finishing like 2nd in one of them and won $20. And then he managed to parlay that $20 into winning something else. And then he ended up $150. And so from nothing to $150, he can do it that way. So if he can do it, you can too. I'll just say that. So We're getting ready for this final race. They're starting to load them in. Even though our pick 4 ticket is dead, I still would like to see the 178 run well for stable duel purposes. Colin, I know you and I are on the same page with that, I think. So we're both rooting for 1710 in this one. And I'll have to check to see if they've updated the stable
They
duel.
updated the last race, but not the race before that.
Yeah. So, yeah, indeed. So I'm up to 13th, and we'll see, how that kind of continues to go. I'll have to text Bree. Let her know that it's not happening, although she's probably asleep by now because it's 11:30 at night. But we're not asleep. We're powering on, and I appreciate all of you in the chat powering on, all of you watching out there. Awesome. We've got 44 people still watching, and that is just fantastic. So super excited about that, and they're getting them loaded in here. So looks like they're having a little bit of trouble with the 5, but it looks like they finally got that one in. They're bringing the 6 in right now. So we're going to kick it over to Kurt to call this final race on the bailout in race number 7 at Assiniboia.
Miami Souvenirs is in. Next up, HD's Hope. HD's Hope. Now locked and loaded. Right. 2 left to go. Living Sky. Now just waiting on Diane's Wish.
All right, they're in.
They're all set. They're at the post.
Ooh, a little bumping there in the middle.
Misgiving. She's showing her speed and opens up quickly by a length and a half. Back to second, Fingertip and Living Sky. To the outside, Diane's Wish in 4th. Moving up, Victoriaville as the inside trip in 5th. Another gap of a length and a half back. That's going to be White Rose Spirit with HD's Hope. Then another gap of 2 lengths back. No surprise. And back to Miami Souvenirs. Straight to the front end, Misgiving. She has opened up 4 on the field, but the strides are shortening on the far outside. Diane's Wish is going to try and eat into that ground. Misgiving at the 16th pole. Diane's Wish now goes on by. Living Sky gets up for second. Third's going to go to Misgiving. Close for 4th and 5th.
Well, there we go. The favorite gets it done in the final leg. The 10 gets the win over the 9 and the 4. Listen, that one, I was surprised they let the 4 get out there without a lot of pressure. The pace duel that we thought might set up did not set up at all. Not surprisingly, our 1 and our 7 were at the back and not really able to close into much. So, one of those things. But that one really, like I said, went to the way the public saw it with the 10 getting the win. And the 9 I thought ran a lot better, obviously, than we anticipated. And like I said, that 10 came back against winners for the first time and ran the favorite down.
Yeah, most races we were fairly on tonight. That one we were not.
Yeah.
We were kind of all around it throughout the night, but then that one was just I just did not see it, especially taking a horse way on the outside that was showing early speed in its 4th performance. That was pretty impressive, and I guess the fact that there wasn't speed up front and the 10 was able to kind of close off of that makes that a horse that I would certainly pay attention to going forward. As we grab the payouts for the 10, the will pays on the pick 4 were $432, and on the pick 3 it was $864. I do believe we had someone in the chat that was alive to the 10 in the pick 3.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I think Rodney was.
Unfortunately, $8
Yeah.
might not have made the bet back.
Yeah, might not have. Yeah, depending. That's pretty chalky, depending on how much he spread. And some of those other ones, Tim got the
makes me feel
trifecta.
better. It makes me
Yeah.
feel better we didn't hit the pick 4. You know.
Oh yeah.
If the one had hit that race and it was paying $4,000 and we didn't have
Yeah.
it, that would have been frustrating.
Yeah, no, it was a fun night though. We had a great time. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back here next Monday night, 8:00. Colin's gonna be back, right? Colin, are you gonna be back?
I'll be back. Tim Me, you win the comment of the night for She's a Turf Horse after that 6th crash.
Yes, Tim. Yeah, Tim Me is the official VIP of the chat tonight. So I totally agree with you about that. That was by far and away the funniest comment. And it's funny because everybody was okay. And so the horse was okay, the jockey was okay, everybody was okay. But that was a very, very funny comment. So love that comment from Tim Me. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to everything that we're doing here on Trust the Profits. We're going to have a ton of content leading up to the Belmont Stakes, obviously focused on all of those races as well with the Triple Crown. Colin, you have a lot of big stuff coming up. I know with all the doubling down, and then you do your kind of really in-depth views as well and videos on some of the major contenders. We got Jessica Tugwell doing all of the pedigree analysis. I'll be doing Capping the Card. Formula's got Greatest Stakes interviews. El Hombre just pops up everywhere. So we got a lot of fun here on the channel. So make sure to press that subscribe button. Make sure to like. Thank you again, everyone out there, for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate everybody's support. This has been a lot of fun. Cannot wait to do this about 17 more times on the season. Colin, listen, until next time, let them know what time it is.
It's now post time.